call the meeting to order, and Dina will do the roll call for us.
Sorry, I'm multitasking.
It's all right. We can switch over to the approve the agenda. I didn't have big changes, but I do want to do a couple updates, and I can actually do those while she's doing that. One of them is the crosswalks were repainted by Public Works and very well received. I posted on the Superior community and it got like 84 likes or something. I mean, people were really appreciative. I talked to Manager Magley at the Meet the Artist, and he said if we had other intersections, we could come up with a list and give him a list and they could then go and paint other intersections. Because I know there were other ones around town we were interested. We just had a certain time frame. So that's one update. The other is the Meet the Artist. I thought that was met with great success. We had just about 40 people there. And the last thing is that Land Rover closed last week. They closed on the building. Closed down, yeah. So I was going to add that to the agenda, but I did quickly. Okay, we ready for roll call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Terry Whitaker.
Here.
Debbie Yates. Christina Costable.
Here.
Melinda Tan. Daryl McCool.
Here.
Marcia Ring.
Here.
Claire Dixon.
Here.
Okay. And then public comment. Rachel, do you want to just give a quick intro or just tell?
Sure. I'm Rachel Tittle. I am interviewing to be on this committee on Monday. I've attended a few, maybe 3 before, so hopefully I'll be around a lot more.
Great. Well, thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Okay. Now we can call.
Welcome to Join Me. Please enter your conference ID and press the pound key. You will now be placed into the conference.
Hey there, everybody.
Hey, Mitchell. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. You got the lights turned on, I see?
Got the lights on and everything.
Okay. So you want to go ahead and start us off with, oh, Debbie just walked in. The update.
Sure. Dina, can you just move the camera upwards a little bit? It's pointed quite low right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it. Go ahead and you guys just start.
Okay. Just before we start, what does everybody think of the new statues?
Love it.
Amazing.
Nice. It looks great. Congratulations on getting that through.
Thanks. We're happy that it's done as well. And such great response.
Yeah, it's being
Nice.
well received.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. So on the call today, the things that I was hoping to go over was to give you a brief project update, to discuss public engagement at Chili Fest and the Line Dance, to talk about the upcoming research activities that CAPS will be undertaking, briefly touch on the presentation to the board, and then wrap up with a high-level review of the digital engagement.
Great.
Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, so in the last month, we've had the chance to do the analysis around what we gathered at the workshop and dialogue in Superior Spectacular. And there's really strong interest in the indoor space to serve as a community. This came through in the workshop, but then also in some of the other activities. Closely behind that, we saw the significant interest in the tap room, brewery, or quality neighborhood pub. Creative wayfinding in a way more broadly of linking the town through walking, biking, and perhaps micro-mobility was something that came up quite a bit during the workshop. the desire for residents to be able to connect with each other. The desire for residents to connect with each other was something else that came through in many of the different activities, and you can see it in the interest in events more broadly. And the idea that gardening can be a social activity as well as an artistic endeavor was something that became quite important. And then when we looked at how events, or how the different potential creative placemaking events could look, or activities might look, and what people were very interested in, events came in as the top-ranked piece from the Superior Dialogue, followed closely by social clubs and groups, physical art and public space improvements, and then greenery and murals were a little bit further behind there. And then when we asked people who wasn't in the room, we got some good feedback. So Bill Jenks was someone who came up, and on the interview front, we spoke with Bill as well as Dig Studios, the landscape architects, today, and got some really good feedback as well as a strong interest in this project from them. And then there was also a few others around who may be interested in participating, and so the director of the Louisville Library was one of them. The long-standing figures in Superior, who have lived there for quite a long time, also came up, and then any sort of local artists, creatives, and entrepreneurs. And then, yeah, I mean, we got some nice input on, you know, the things people would like, and again, ways to connect came up when we asked them on the chalk wall, great public spaces, access to nature, and even more cool nature. And a few things, quality cafes, restaurants, and that kind of things. And then, again, shared spaces. So performance space came up around theater and that kind of thing, but also just, you know, spaces for young people and seniors to hang out. One of the more interesting things in terms of for culture, art, and public space that came up, and one that I'd love to hear your thoughts on, was a time capsule. So having the town put some ideas into or some of their hopes, aspirations, and say current feelings about the town into a time capsule to open up for later. And this was quite interesting, just in that Superior is at a fascinating junction in its history, with the downtown coming online soon and this new plan coming up. So this could be something pretty good. And beyond the ones that I mentioned before, non-athletic youth programs, which could certainly include a culture and arts component, were something that were quite big. On the mapping front, I think we're you know, on the first steps here, and I think we're going to get a bunch more from people as we conduct the digital engagement. But in terms of favorite places, we saw quite a bit around the parks and green spaces and trails, and they were kind of spread out throughout the town. In terms of opportunity space, downtown Superior and Superior Marketplace were most prominent, with closely beside Marketplace was Original Town and what may be possible over there. And yeah, I mean, the pool complex, some of the outdoor physical activity spaces came up as well, and we got some really nice photos from that too, so I think that's going to figure well with the report. And then in the interview analysis, you know, from what we've done so far, and so now we have conducted 11 of these interviews in addition to the one-on-one time that we've had with all of you, and a few informal conversations along the way. But, you know, ensuring that this project raises the town identity and helps to create a cohesive identity, and this Made in Superior approach has come through as something that's very important. And the idea that, you know, people should be able to spend their recreation time, work, and also, you know, when you go to a restaurant or cafe in Superior. So no need to have to go to Louisville or elsewhere to meet friends for dinner at a nice restaurant or something was really big. You know, in these interviews, the need for this community indoor space came up again and again. And of course, I think this is at least partially informed by the Range Rover site being on everybody's minds. But, you know, you can see this need for folks to be inside and able to conduct all sorts of different activities that are possible throughout the year. Especially with the trustees, they mentioned the strong interest in diversifying Superior's economic base, and so downtown Superior, of course, is playing a role in that. But, you know, as we see more and more online purchases, in shopping and eating out activities, this is something where the placemaking plan can definitely come into play. Of course, especially the trustees were also very curious about funding for this whole plan and how we can carry that forward. And mobility came up quite a bit as well, and this was largely about how to reduce dependence on the car. So still being able to get around by car, but also making it easier to walk and bike between the main centers and parks within Superior. I think that at a high level covers a lot of the engagement that we have done, and so we have within the current scope one more interview to conduct, so I'm really eager to hear your thoughts on that, recognizing that we're quite flexible in being able to add one more if you'd like both the historical figures and librarians to come in. And I think I've got a couple more things, but perhaps we'll just see if there's any comments or questions at this time.
One quick question. You mentioned a landscape architect that you spoke with connected to downtown Superior. What was that, and how did they fit into this?
They are the ones who have been hired by Ranch Capital and the development team. So they're called Dig Studio.
So were they?
And so they're the ones who are helping the what is it called? Morgan Ranch DTS LLC, so the corporation that will be doing Main Street from within the Downtown Superior project. They've hired landscape architects for their work within that.
And that was, and that was a separate conversation than Bill Jenks?
No, that was together.
That was together, okay.
Yep. Like, Downtown Superior is their client, and so Bill invited them to join that call as well.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know. It was an unfamiliar person name group.
Did the landscape company, because of their, when the Morgan Ranch Capital came before the Board of Trustees, they had some very specific ideas in terms of using landscaping to enhance the visual aspect of it. Neil might be a little bit more up to date on that, but that ties in kind of nicely to that public space concept, that if they're doing a lot of the really attractive stuff on that, what is it, the north side of Main Street, where the plaza will be and all that?
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely taken our feedback. We just haven't seen the final plan yet.
Okay.
But I think that was some of the feedback we gave them was, how to better utilize the space and kind of unlock it so that more people can access it.
More attractive?
Yeah.
Not so cement-driven?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the feedback that we had conveyed. And then there was a discussion around, turf versus grass.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of,
Okay.
grass in the hot sun, hard to
Yeah,
maintain.
and a lot of people on it.
Yeah.
So one of the pieces of new business I have for you all is a report on Ranch Capital's progress and also Better City. So we can talk about that in new business later.
Okay. After Mitchell?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Dina, would you be able to share those reports with me as well?
And they're not written reports, but I'm happy to just send you a quick email on the conversations I've had with the two companies.
Okay, great.
Well, and not Happy City, the other, Better City is doing a presentation, and they have a big, like an 80-page packet in the board, presentation that's in the board packet that has a ton of information in it.
Better City does?
Yeah.
And
Better City is the town's economic development consultant.
that's right. So where can we have access to that?
It's in the meeting packet, the town board meeting packet.
For this Monday?
Monday's
for
meeting.
this Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just
Got it.
letting him know that he can
Okay.
go there and get that.
For Betty's,
information.
okay.
Yeah.
And Daryl, will that be public once they have presented?
It is public information right now. I mean, it's on the town website, so yes.
Okay, great. I'll take a look at that. I'd spoken with Adam back in July, but it'd be nice to see the updates. Just to quickly fill you in a little bit on the conversation with Ranch Capital and Dig, they're very eager to see this plan move forward, and they see a lot of value in it, and they're curious about how they can participate. Of course, they're cognizant of their bottom line and wanting to balance what they're contributing to what can come from it. We talked quite a bit about having year-round spaces, and so that was one where the turf, or I guess an additional component where the turf had some strengths. You know, if there was interest in making that an outdoor hockey rink, which was one idea that was discussed, certainly not confirmed, but an idea that was getting bounced around, it's easier to do that on turf, or there's less wear and tear on turf than there would be on grass. And it was quite heartening to hear some of the thoughts they had around having year-round space in that location. But then we also talked about the connections to the surroundings. And so those are, I think, the biggest things for us. They flagged a few spots where they saw opportunities for public art as well, but having those connections to Marketplace and some of the other surroundings and the trails were key things that we flagged, and everybody was in agreement about the value in having this type of thing carry forward.
Great, thank you. So do you want us to just go ahead and have a quick discussion and a vote on the final interview?
That would be excellent.
Okay, so we didn't actually, what we realized is we didn't actually vote last time. We just all sort of threw out, but there was no actual vote on who the final interview was, and he'd already contacted Bill Jenks, and so that interview happened. But I had expressed an interest in Sharon, and Melinda had expressed an interest after that about Jim Payne. And I think both are really good candidates. My thought on Sharon, and I know she's from Louisville, and I know she's the librarian, but her ideas go beyond the doors of the library, and we spend $650,000 there. And I think, in my mind, that's a huge stakeholder in this community. And she has taken the time to come to our talk, invested in our, in looking at what's going on over here, whereas no other librarian did. And I think that it's, that she's incredibly valuable in terms of being a part of this conversation at this stage. But that's, that's my perception. I think Jim Payne is great. He's an HOA past president. He's deeply rooted in the community. He was on ProStack for many, many years, and he's not a bad choice either. But I think that we just need to. And then there's also the Historic Commission.
So how do we blend in to get, if we vote to go with the librarian, is there a way to get us to talk, or is that not allowed officially? I know that Mitchell wouldn't be doing the interview, but is there some way to get that feedback from people like, Jim Payne and all those others that we're kind of targeting and that type of thing? And we just more matter, we'd love to know what you guys think. Or by taking the survey, will we just get their perspective if, for instance, we don't have Mitchell interview Jim Payne? Is there?
We had talked a little bit at our last meeting about hosting little in-home get-togethers with people. I don't know if that's still on the table, but that's another way to reach out to selected individuals.
And I guess you could do little in-home things and then have them do the digital engagement. So
right.
You can have conversations and then point them to the digital engagement. And then that way, if we don't have a script or a real specific thing to talk to, then...
A quick note on the in-home things. I think that as ambassadors for the Creative Placemaking Master Plan, that's going to be a fantastic role for you to play once we presented the draft plan, which I think is tentatively set for early December, and to be able to kind of familiarize people with it and flag some of their concerns. That part will be excellent. In terms of engagement, where we're gaining ideas to put into the plan, it's more tricky in that the framing becomes a little bit more challenging for Happy City, and there is sort of this gatekeeper that you invite the folks that you're familiar with and who certainly have a stake in the town. But there may be some others who could be included at that point that haven't been. And then in terms of the questions and discussion that goes on, Happy City not being privy to what that looks like, concern for me and our team. And then in terms of the output and analysis, that piece is challenging. So we are really in favor of having you conduct these type of activities once the draft plan has been presented publicly. But early on, we see limited value in doing that as a form of information gathering for engagement.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I like the idea of the librarian.
She's the one who had the ideas, right?
Well, Melinda's concern is that she's only about the building and about library, and I think she's and Neil can speak to it because he goes to library board meetings. I mean, her ideas, I think it's not just building a library over here, it's what services can be brought over here. And so if we actually have an indoor space that we can engage, I think that it's integral to have them be part of that conversation.
So bring in, I mean, you'd have a better perspective, but bring in Susan, right? What's her name? Sharon. Bring in Sharon now with all the things that we're trying to do. And then if 1, 2, 3 years out, whenever we have this community space, then she's already linked in with us.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of conceptual sense. We're, it's a quarter of their budget, roughly 20 to 30% of the readership. But there hasn't been any programming in Superior for as long as we can remember. Sharon's the first one to bring anything in this last summer. We had at least a couple of events this summer in Superior, and I can't recall that we ever were able to do that. And bringing a new director in, trying to link the two towns. I think she recognizes, her charter. She's obviously, overseen by the town of Louisville, but she does recognize, we're a huge part of the readership. And I think she is looking for more opportunities. The Landover building may provide an opportunity to better, link these together, which I really like that thinking around, because there has been some thought. Do we try to duplicate a library in Superior, or do you try to augment the one that's in Louisville? That's something that's going to have to get sorted out over time, because library from scratch is not, it's not inexpensive, but augmenting one and expanding the readership and expanding the opportunities, so that not everything is in Louisville, more of it's here, I think is a great way to think about how these can move forward. I think obviously that Daryl did bring up some of the concerns that we see. Obviously she's staff in Louisville. She lives in Littleton. How much of a connection does she have to the community? I think that's always a question. I think that's fair for everybody to ask of everyone. But I think her charter, at least for the library or the Louisville Museum, I think it does kind of fit into what it is that we're trying to bring.
I think it's the same level as the chamber, I mean, in my opinion. And we actually pay them a lot more than we actually pay the chamber, so I think she's invaluable. But again, that's just my opinion, and I would not be sad if it was Jim Payne, or we picked the Historic Commission as the last spot. I'm just trying to.
And I would note that he has the capacity to conduct, increasing the scope of the interviews. The interviews are about $250 per interview. So in terms of small increases to ensure that everybody gets met, that is something that is available. We're happy to do one, but just so you know that there are other ways to carry it forward that aren't going to break the bank.
Mitchell, is this a good time to explain your answer to the question of how all of these engagement methods are weighted in your recommendations?
Yeah, we can do that. So, we've got the stakeholder interviews, we've got the in-person public engagement, which there will be more of. We've got the digital component that is coming online. And each of these is serving really useful purposes. So in talking with the targeted interviews, we've been able to get a kind of deeper understanding of the context in which development is taking place. The public engagement has been really useful for getting some of that, but at a slightly lighter level. And that's also been good to identify really where the passions lie, where the community champions are. At the same time, the in-person engagement has a lot in common with the digital engagement. So we've asked a few of those questions in person that are going to be on the digital piece. And the digital piece is going to be really useful for getting that broader population who is interested but may not have time or capacity to participate in some of these more in-depth activities. So the weighting of these activities is essentially equal. They serve slightly different purposes, but we're putting it together and filtering everything that we're hearing from these different forums, as well as from the in-person work that we've done with CAPS and from these meetings and the direction that we've received from you. We filter that through the Happy City Wellbeing Lens and the principles that we've developed for this project. And that will be informing, where it's going. So, yeah, the weighting is relatively equal, and we are filtering this through our approach to ensure that we're hearing the key voices, but also getting this broad understanding of what the people of Superior want more generally. And all of this is going to be reflected in the draft plan that will then be presented to the board and then presented publicly shortly thereafter.
Okay, that's great. And $250 an interview, it's a no-brainer. Why don't we just interview both?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
Sorry,
we're nickel and diming something
Oh,
that
I
could
had no
have
idea. Yeah.
huge potential for getting, and one of the phrases that Mitchell used was the validity of what we're doing. And only by probably having, well, definitely in my perspective, the librarian, but even someone in Jim Payne's capacity who's been on both the HOA board and PROSAC. I don't know, do we have to ask the board of trustees for this, or?
Well,
We can make a recommendation. We can
Yeah.
make a
Okay.
recommendation
Yeah.
and then
Let's do
ask
that.
them for additional funds.
right, so on Monday, you're already asking, requesting
For Jerry.
for approval to increase their scope. So, even though it's not in the packet, I think you can include it verbally and say that it, took place tonight, that you wanted to recommend it.
Another stakeholder interview, okay.
Although that's not what you guys want to call it, so we could call it something
Oh.
else if you want.
Neil, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as part of my board update, I'll articulate that we want to add at least a couple more interviews. I mean, it's de minimis in terms of the overall contract.
Right,
And I think it's,
And
more
impact.
importantly, it helps us bring more voices into the conversation.
right.
And a variety of them.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds to me like we're ready for a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we have Jim Payne and, who's the other person?
Sharon Nemechek.
Sharon Nemechek comprise the final interviews for this Happy City project. Any second? Second. Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The chair is supposed to do all
Yeah, the
of
chair's
that.
I was
supposed to do.
thinking,
Sorry.
That's all right.
Go, Daryl.
I'm sorry,
We have no-
it's something I just fall
Forum.
fall into.
We do.
We do,
have
1, 2,
six.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We have 6.
Oh,
Rachel is
Rachel's in-
applying.
Rachel's in pending.
Yeah.
Pending.
Okay.
We're good though with
So
quorum. Okay.
we have a first and a second who's, do we have to start all again?
No, I think you can do first, second, and then a discussion.
Okay,
Anyway.
any discussion, any additional discussion? Do you have other? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous? You can leave out the part that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so that's one thing checked off our list. Okay, on to the next.
Dina, would you be able to share their contact information, please,
Yes, for sure.
after this report? Okay, thank you. Great, okay, that's really helpful. They sound like both are really important to speak with, and we felt Bill Jenks was really important. Downtown Superior is just such a vital project to the town, so all of these three sound really good.
Yeah, very cool. And I'm assuming at some point we kind of get a summary of what Bill Jenks and Deep Studio, what their perspective is? Or is that just between you and them? How do we get that information?
We've intended to do a summary of all of the interviews.
Okay.
And not breaking down the specifics. I think that's going to be the approach. I mean, if you are looking for something more specific, we could discuss that. I think that all of the information that we discussed is going to be stuff, I guess it's all going to be coming forward.
When they go to the board, okay.
So that's
Yeah.
part of my report to you guys later.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
put them on the agenda for October to meet you.
Okay. Bill or Deep Studio?
Both.
Oh, because Bill's been at our meetings before.
Right,
Till
but
next.
you don't know the details.
We don't know the.
Oh, we don't know the
latest
details,
update.
okay. Got it.
Okay, so should we now talk about the Chili Fest engagement training and how to schedule that?
Yeah, let's do that. So we've got public engagement for both Chili Fest and the line dance. And I had a very brief discussion with Dina, Daryl, and Melinda around Chili Fest training. And I'll preface that by saying I was unaware that we were going to be doing both Chili Fest and line dance, and I think that's excellent. So that is great to hear. And so it sounded like there were 3 or 4 people who would be available from CAPS committee to conduct engagement at Chili Fest.
Right, and actually Melinda's not here, so it might be a little tricky to schedule that, so we might have to do that at a different time. Schedule the training.
Sure. During the call, we talked about Thursday, September 5th in the evening. We could set the time a little bit later, but for anybody who's going to be there, would that be an okay time?
Well, it works for me.
So you,
Would this also do the line dancing or no? That's
no, this is just for the Chili Fest.
Okay.
Yeah,
They'll do
it's okay.
I think.
So you said you're doing your,
Yeah, I am
Dixie.
doing our booth at Chili Fest. I could be available for the line dancing booth, but that night I think is back to school night for the high school. But
actually September 5th is.
that's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I know, I just realized, you're right, I
Yeah.
just realized that. So, yeah, some of us will,
There's a conflict.
Yeah,
there is a conflict.
Can we
but
do the
no,
4th?
we just found out.
like a Wednesday.
Okay. We could do the 4th if that works out better. Wednesday the 4th.
I don't know. I think that we can't, we'll have to figure this out and get back to you. But if the 4th can work for people, we'll try and do that.
Do you have a second option, Mitchell?
Or third.
Would the 3rd be possible?
Third could work.
The 3rd, yeah, the 3rd is possible. If I would preference the 4th over the 3rd, as we're coming just back from Labor Day, and I think we'll be still doing some prep on that. So if the 4th is possible, I would recommend that, and if it is not, then we can use the 3rd.
What about the 7th? I mean, the 6th, sorry, the 7th is Chili Fest. Just,
Yeah,
That's
just
right.
in case anybody gets sick or anything comes up, it would be best not to have it the night before.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
We'll figure that out and get back to you. And what time works
Okay, yeah.
for you? I mean, is like a 6 o'clock time too late for you?
No, I mean, I'm pretty flexible with that, so if later is a little bit better, that's okay as well.
Okay, all right. Great, thank you. So I'm realizing that we don't know the details of the line dance engagement and what that would entail, because part of what we were supposed to have was the details so we could make a decision tonight whether we wanted to ask the board to have you guys come back for that, so.
Right, so my report to you guys is that the cost estimate's 7,000, and Mitchell can explain to you what that entails.
Yeah, and so that 7,000 covers both the training and data analysis from Chili Fest, as well as the line dance activities. So training for Chili Fest, once you capture the data, we can analyze it. We'll prepare a one-pager describing the project that you can have at Chili Fest. Go over any logistical questions with staff for Chili Fest as well. Then for line dance, that covers, so Cherry would be coming down for this. That will cover her flights, which a look yesterday had at about $850. 2 nights at the new hotel in Superior, and then either a car rental or lift to and from the airport, and perhaps on-site time, and we'll be adding new engagement. So I think we'll update the event ranking, which we used at Superior Dialogue. We'll be adding a piece around a culture and art skills database, as I think that's something that we'll be looking to develop along the way. We'll include the mapping exercise around favorite places and least favorite, but we'll also add something around locations for public art, as well as post-event data capture and analysis. So basically, we're going to add a couple of engagement activities, or the engagement stations, as we called them during dialogue. And they will be closely tied to the digital engagement, which, depending on CAP's capacity, will also be possible for people to develop at the same time. And then, of course, this includes the post-event data capture and analysis for both Chili Fest and the line dance.
Okay. Okay.
So could you just speak to this? You said that the engagement stations would be tied to the digital engagement. So could you talk a little bit more about how?
Well, so sure. If town staff is able to provide a tablet or another device that one of the CAPS committee could administer to the public, then they can take part in that at the same time. But the questions that we will ask, recognizing that not everybody's going to want to fill out a survey or has the time to do so, being able to have a few of the targeted questions, like we started to do during Superior Dialogue and Superior Spectacular, are ways to make sure that we're getting as broad an audience as possible, but also creating this attractive material to kind of catch people's attention and pique their interest moving forward with the project. So effectively, it's a way to gather information that we can use to inform the strategy. At the same time, it's to promote the whole project.
Okay, so literally tied to it.
Okay.
Okay.
And that would be having a couple laptop computers, or however that works, at the two events? Or definitely at the line dancing event, or both?
If you're able to do it at both, that's excellent. If
Yeah, I just don't know if there's tablets available. Excuse me.
If not, I know, I think both of these.
Available.
And it sounded like there was substantial CAPS capacity for the line dance, greater than at Chili Fest. So, our thought is to have a couple of additional activities that you just simply need a person to manage each engagement station.
Okay.
Well,
So we'd be able to have.
we're also running our Very Prairie Dog pop-up there, so we have to split services. So just in terms of engagement stations, we just need to make sure that there's enough bodies to cover those and our pop-up.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can do it.
The cost of training us to run the booth at Chili Fest, though, that was included in that price, so that's not something that is in the original budget right now.
That was $1,500, we discussed it last month.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he was gonna do training for line dance. Those two together were gonna be $2,500.
Okay, so that's a separate training.
But you're not gonna do line dance training because Cherry may come. So if you want Cherry, it's $7,000, right, Mitchell?
So that one training.
Yeah, and so one clarification. So I got the memo this afternoon, and when looking over, I realized that now the training for Chili Fest and then the line dance engagement with Cherry on site were two separate costs. But if we were doing them, if Cherry's coming down, then we would bundle the Chili Fest training cost into that. So the total for both of those events would be $7,000. So that's one thing we'll need to tweak for the memo. But both would be $7,000. If Cherry's not coming down and we're doing training for both, as well as the data analysis and everything that comes with that, the two events for us to train CAPS, do all this stuff would be $2,250.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, Neil?
I'll give you my opinion, because at the end of the day, it's a board call.
Right.
I think this is one of those things where, you want to do what's right by the relative budget, and if CAPS decides that, bringing Cherry in, or Cherry in is beneficial to the event, then it's probably the right thing to do. But if you think, if CAPS can get trained and run it themselves, I think there's some value to that as well.
So basically, we're talking 2,250 versus 7,000, right?
And the difference is a Happy City employee on site or not.
Cherry hearing,
But it might also make a difference in the type of materials that you have available.
Or new engagements? Did you say
right, if Cherry's here,
She's bringing
she's
stuff with
bringing
her.
new engagements or can guide us through how you want to add in 1 or 2 engagement stations.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, incremental piece of it, it's hard to put a
It's hard
dollar
to,
amount.
yeah, it's hard to kind of get an idea.
Yeah, and that's why I think we need to just.
I would note that, we had originally discussed just training caps, and it was Patrick Hammer, who prior to departing had recommended that we come down for further engagement as well.
Okay.
Okay, that's good to know.
I mean, I think in an ideal world, it makes sense to do that.
Yeah.
Only because, and having seen Cherry and how well she does manage the engagement stations, and, yeah, I mean, she's just good at what she does with that, so. Do we need
I
to,
think it can also be helpful just in say, more complex questions or questions about previous Happy City experience and who are the people that are doing this. It can be helpful to have somebody on site.
well, I also think that because the main event was rained out, that Happy City really didn't get as much of that talk to citizens and be able to have that community engagement. So I think really having someone from Happy City at the line dancing, whatever we're calling it, would be really helpful. I think it would give you guys a better feeling rather than the CAPS committee having been trained on it, taking that data and you basically analyzing it all. So, do we need to move to request to the Board of Trustees?
If we want to do this, and personally, I want to digest this a little bit, and I think we have 15 more minutes with Mitchell.
Okay.
We've got other things to go through, so.
Okay.
I guess you have to vote tonight if you want to move forward that
We
recommendation.
could do that,
Okay.
but we can get him off.
We can
don't
get-
have to vote
Yeah.
with him
Exactly.
Right.
online, and we can discuss it offline and have a deeper discussion. But be cognizant
Okay.
that we still have a bunch of other things to go through with him.
Okay.
So,
I think we've gone through all his stuff.
no, we have the input on the
Oh,
questionnaire, and
questionnaire.
he added presentation to the board.
Oh, it's not on the agenda?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just emphasize, please make a vote on that tonight so that we can determine what the next steps are as that's coming up. And we want to be able to prepare properly for that and also just have many other activities that we see that we're trying to coordinate. So one thing I added this morning, Daryl, was just on the research component. So I understand that CAPS will be, and we talked about this a little bit last time, but that CAPS will be conducting some of the research around the needs assessment, as well as drafting guidelines and procedures around public art.
Well, I think if we're interested, we're helping, but I thought those were staff jobs, right?
Well, I think that's where we need to discuss, because a lot of the things I took off the scope of work were supposed to be staff jobs, but you all were interested in being more hands-on, so we need to just determine what the rest of that means.
Can we circle around to that
Yeah.
after Mitchell's off the phone?
Talk
Sure.
about the questionnaire.
Yeah, we just do the questionnaire.
Okay. I would note that we would like to have all of the primary research components wrapped up by October 14th, so mid-month, as that's really when we're getting into the in-depth ideation and concept development, and that gives us approximately 1 month prior to presenting to the Board of Trustees, if the trustees accept the new date of November 18th for that presentation. So that timeline piece is really important, and the lead-in piece is that, recognizing that CAPS meets twice a month, we need to organize what that might look like, and so I want to make sure that that's on your agenda, and if CAPS is running it, to have the research structures for these different activities in place by mid to late September, so I've got September 23rd as the date for that, so that I have the chance to review at that time to make sure that everything's looking good staff is coordinating that, then I'm able to review more quickly and regularly, but that's just something I wanna flag. And that communication piece, I think, will be important with you.
What's September 23rd? I've got October 14th.
To have October 14th as the final deliverable
Right,
for the
right.
research, and September 23rd or earlier as when the structure of what that research is going to look like comes through. So we can flag anything that we consider as a blind spot or additional questions that you may want to ask.
Okay.
So basically a chance to see how that process is going to play out.
Okay, so then it gives you 3 weeks between September 23rd and October 14th. If you're looking at the results and going, oh my gosh, we need to do something basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure that, the work is all on track, and so that we don't just get a surprise in mid-October about what's been conducted.
In your opinion, how much time is typically spent on a needs assessment?
Well, I guess it depends how in-depth you're going and how broad it's going to be. I think you have a pretty good understanding of where the needs for Superior lie in terms of culture and art and public space. I think the key piece is what that comes out, the final product that comes out from that. And so in this case, having a clear report and perhaps some mapping elements if that becomes valuable. I would estimate that that's roughly 40 hours of work.
40 hours of your work, because you know how to do it.
No. Yeah, okay, yeah. In our team, and typically with a bunch of the research, even if it's within the Happy City team, I would guide some of our junior members in that. But yeah, you can see about 40 person hours going into that from our perspective, or from, when we're conducting it ourselves.
Okay. That's good.
I think the policy piece is more tricky. And I think that if CAPS was going to be involved in it, it would have to be together closely with town staff, as there are so many ramifications about how you develop policy and how that integrates with existing town policy. So that one can get quite complex depending on how in depth you go. And, we're talking about guidelines for procuring public art. I'm sure that the town of Superior has guidelines for procurement that are in place. I think one that was flagged early on was around insurance requirements. So there's a pretty high liability insurance that was required. So just understanding how all of these pieces fit together is a complex process. So for policy, you can look at what other towns are doing and see what works, but then you also need to match it to what bylaws and policy exists in Superior already. So I would flag that one as a fairly complex one. Needs assessment, total confidence that you'll be able to do that quite independently.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about?
Is that where he said something about he added something to the agenda on board presentation?
The presentation to the board, yeah.
Was that with the needs assessment and the policy statements?
No, I think that's
something
separate.
different.
Okay.
Yeah, that was separate. So the presentation to the board, I just want to say thank you, Daryl. Excellent that you're presenting, and I looked at the revised presentation. Overall, I think it looks really good. There was one note that I wanted to make, which was the final presentation to the board, which is the draft final plan, would be February 10th. And then the proposal would be submitted, or the final project would be submitted on February 28th. And those dates are reversed.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, I probably.
Oh, no worries.
Is that in the memo? Might be the memo.
In the memo, you have it correct, Dina.
Oh.
And then the only thing that I think is worth emphasizing with the board is that, the dates that we're proposing here are dependent on fulfilling a timeline through the fall. So recognizing that there is a potential for adjustments if things get delayed or if anything else comes along. But, we have as much of an interest in having this done in a timely manner as you do. And so we'd be seeking to carry that out in this way as best we can.
Can I just have a question about the whole process? A lot of the mapping and the timeline was based on budget, our budgetary cycle. And since that was taken off the table and not a consideration, is this a normal time frame that you would do a master plan in?
Like a neighborhood master plan could take a little bit longer, but something around placemaking, this is a pretty reasonable timeline.
Okay.
And, you know, I think the important piece to underline is that when you decide to implement major art pieces, there may be additional public engagement and specific activities around, you know, specific interventions. So whether that's an enormous mural or the large art walk that goes through town or a big statue, there will be additional activity that will take place, at least among CAPS and the trustees, and then depending on what kind of impact that's going to have on the town, there may be another public component. But at the strategic level and where we'll be making our recommendations, this is a pretty feasible approach.
Okay.
And so when we looked at this, go ahead, Jill.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, some of it just feels really compressed, and, you know, I don't know if it's because it was summer and we had a lot going on, but I just wanted to have some sense of whether or not this was pretty standard time frame.
Yeah, on the in-person engagement, part of the compression came from the reduced budget and scope from what had been initially proposed. So when we made the initial proposal, we were around 75,000. That had been dropped to about 50. And in that initial proposal, there had been disengagement around this time of year that had been included, but we still felt that the final deliverable, that timeline still was feasible.
Okay. Cool.
And then going forward, I know that there's that 5-year out kind of guideline. Remind me what's included in the 5 years out. Just touching base, or what does that look like?
Well, there's budget that's allocated for the next 5 years, so we can make recommendations about how that can be used or implemented. So for instance, the fact that downtown Superior is still under construction, perhaps that would not be the primary focus in the first couple of years, but as that comes online to strengthen the connections between the different neighborhoods, that would be where that becomes important. And then the other key piece is determining around funding opportunities. How do you maximize the funding potential that goes beyond public funds, or, I mean, even using public funds, but perhaps from a source other than that allocated for public space or for culture and art.
Okay.
Anyone have questions, thoughts?
Are we gonna
Talk about the questionnaire?
Oh, yeah, questionnaire, sorry, I forgot.
So the thought here is that Mitchell's just gonna give you high-level comments,
Okay.
and then we'll hang up with him and finish the discussion.
Okay. I thought, by the way, while Daryl's pulling this up, I thought this was supposed to be done by, it's part of this. Oh, is it? Okay. Like last Friday or something.
Yes, it was.
Okay. I thought it was kind of like water under the bridge by now, but okay.
Okay, you want to go ahead and tell us what your thoughts and comments are on where the survey is at?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have this go live. It's a really important component of the engagement. It's a way of reaching a much broader segment of the population than those who are able to attend always in person. This is something where, you know, if you can highlight this to your friends and neighbors, this is a really useful one to get as many people as possible to participate. We want to make this as reflective of the town and make sure that we're meeting the broadest aspirations for the people who are living in Superior. So this really promotes the heck out of this thing. I think that's really important. I think, you know, beyond that, you've been quite involved with this, and what do you think of how it's gone so far?
We think it's great.
In crafting the question.
I think we're ready to kind of wrap it up
Yeah, I
and get it
think
out
we're-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was done last Friday, so.
Okay.
I only have, and we talked about this briefly, is because everybody's so busy that you had mentioned, obviously, we want to get as many residents as we can to answer the survey, and we'll kind of brainstorm ways that we can reach out and get people to become involved in it. But I do think that maybe when it goes, especially on Facebook and stuff, you want a way that people are not feeling it's going to take them a half an hour to take a survey. And that's the only thing. Other than that, I think all the questions are great and looks good. And
can I ask Mitchell a question? Mitchell, what was your recommendation about how long a good survey should take without being too cumbersome?
Yeah, 10 minutes or less would be the ideal amount. There was a little bit of length to this one. The ranking question, there were a lot of answers, and I think that was something that had been discussed internally as well. So if you could reduce that to 8, I think that's a good number. There was another question slightly later, I think, let's see here. It was, what type of public art would you like to experience in Superior? And it's not exactly the same as the ranking question, but it had me wondering what would be included in the second round of questions, and had that been further considered at this point.
Makes sense.
Yeah. We could conceivably move that to round 2. We do have a list of round 2 questions, and that one seems ideal for that. So what are your thoughts on that ranking question? So we have a few ideas on either shorten it, rank your top 6, or allow people to skip the question. And I don't know if the software allows us to do that, but those are just ideas for how to not get people tripped up on that one.
I've already revised the question. Mitchell, I used a Likert scale, and so I'll show these guys the revision to that, and obviously you can see it too, but if you have thoughts related to it maybe being a Likert scale.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, okay. It's the Mitchell. Okay, maybe it's a Canadian thing. It's a chart where on the left side you have your choices, and on the right, in the rows, you give it a score. So it's a scale instead of a drop-down menu.
Oh.
And so if these guys like the revision as I show them tonight, then you'll see it tomorrow.
Okay, I feel like if we could reduce that question to 8 options, because it still takes quite a bit of time to read, and then you think about, how those rankings might happen. If you're using one where people can put all 5s, for instance, as like their preference, it gets a little bit more challenging to derive meaning from it. So, for instance, when we did a very similar type exercise in real life, we had, I think it was 6 choices, and we gave them 3 stars. So they had to pick between them. I saw a couple of opportunities to reduce the number of options. So for instance, there were options for creative co-working spaces or sharing of creative studios, energizing vacant commercial buildings and spaces, and then gathering place or cultural hub. And I wondered if for the first round, we could have a question around a, inclusive multi-use indoor space. And then in the second round, you could say, we heard your interest in having an inclusive indoor multi-use space. What activities would you like to see prioritized within that space? And then, round 2, we could drill down into what the specifics might be.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Because I know that part of the Board of Trustees, Neil, you would know this, when they've talked about the Land Rover facility, I think there's been a lot of talk about, multi-use, that type of thing. So if that facility the town has purchased and they're thinking multi-use, then that's kind of a big question. So, and I like the way you phrased it. So maybe if, I liked your wording on it.
Yeah, a lot of those things can be combined that are in that. That list of however many, was it 12? Yeah, it can definitely narrow it down.
I don't know about you guys when you took it. It took, and I was whipping through it, which I thought at a fairly rapid pace, and it probably took me, 25 minutes maybe?
Yeah, way too much.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a sense for it?
Yeah. Matter, it'll just kind of be superficial.
I think it'll just, we won't even get an accurate reading. I don't know that people will take the time to even do it, which concerns me even more. They'll just look at that. I mean, when I was doing the 12 questions, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love this and it's a passion for me, but if I'm a mom with 3 kids at home and you're trying to fit this
Yeah,
into
I think I ranked like 3 and then I tried to save and next. That's what I was telling Daryl. I'm like, maybe just a couple and let them go on.
Yeah,
Because I was
so,
trying to just get to the next.
so I think it needs to be faster, and I think it, yeah.
That's a deadline, I mean, a dead
think that
point
makes
right
sense.
there.
Or maybe
People
just
drop
what you
3.
said.
So we have a lot of
Okay.
discussion to go over about it, and I have already taken everybody's comments and have some suggestions how to at least cut back on 4 or 5 questions. And then revising that drop-down one with all those big choices is gonna be a big deal. So Mitchell, do you have any other comments you wanted to share?
I think the key thing is that it's short enough that people are able to do it with ease, and that we're getting a broad sample of results. And then the other really important piece that ties in very closely to that is that we have the second round. And the second round is useful to go into greater depth, but it's also really useful to communicate back to the people to say, we hear you. These are the things that are important to you, and now we want to go further with that. There's some of it where there's always this eagerness to get as many answers as possible early on, but there's a nice opportunity to move some of those questions to the second round, and also, demonstrate the understanding and listening that we've done to reach that point with the participants. So I think that can be really nice. The other one was around having the question at the end, what skills, or do you have any skills around arts or culture that you would like to contribute or that you'd like to share in Superior? It's going to be a very small part of the final plan, but we are quite eager to start building a database of arts and culture skills within Superior. It can be anonymous for now, but just to show, look at all the great things that people here are able to do already.
So you're suggesting adding that in?
As probably the last question, yeah. Just an open question that people can leave blank.
So in the demographic area?
Yeah, that works.
Would you mind
So
repeating
it's
it?
non-obligatory?
Would you mind repeating it so I could write it down?
Sure, and this is paraphrased, so I'm sure we can wordsmith a little bit, but what arts and culture skills do you have that you could contribute in Superior? Just being able to find out a little bit more about, it keeps coming up every time we speak with someone that there's some, hidden skill that we haven't heard about, or somebody who can do something really good. And so identifying some of that, even if we don't know who the person is, it's at least a way to say, look at what everybody here can contribute, and to carry that forward.
I like it.
Okay, great.
Okay, anybody
And I
else?
think, yeah, and Dina's seen the comments that we shared, so I think that is probably enough detail for me to get into on this with you. But yeah, we think this is really important and are eager to see it go forward. Again, final comment on that was I think the dates had, and I might be mistaken, but I believe that the first round was going to be open for about 2 weeks, as well as the second. And I thought the date I saw for closing of the second round was prior to Line Dance, and I just want to confirm that the second round of the survey will still be open during Line Dance, so that we can collect responses there as well.
That would make sense if that's okay.
Yeah, if that's,
Absolutely.
because if we're just talking about having the laptops and having, yeah, okay.
Maybe a week after. What do you think of doing it like the next Friday or?
Oh, I like that.
Because
Saturday
then
night or
people might
something.
leave and go home and do it
Right.
in a
They
couple
have a
days.
flyer or
Yeah.
some kind of reminder, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe end of September.
And we appreciate all your perspective on this, Mitchell, and you're obviously the expert. So make sure you're telling us, okay, this makes absolutely no sense, and how about if we do it this way? So, yeah, just be sure you let us know with those kinds of things.
Oh, well, thank you. And, we really have a very strong and vested interest in making sure that this is clear and understandable and that we can get as many responses as possible. So
Awesome.
this is really important to us as well.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other questions or anything else that you wanted to flag while I'm on the call with you?
I think
Sorry,
I think we're good.
just before. Okay, just before, I noticed a few of the questions are open to answer, so fill in the blank, which is great for letting people feel comfortable with as many answers as they'd like, but it also requires somebody on the back end to then compile all of those results. So I just wanted to flag how much labor that can take. It's not necessarily an enormous amount, but it does just take time to write down all those answers. And, sometimes people use different spellings or other things, so shortcuts aren't always super successful.
Okay.
And then related to that was one of the open answer questions right now was your favorite places in Superior. And from some of the other examples of this online engagement tool, it seemed that it was possible to use a mapping component, so you could actually just mark it on a map, which will, I think, make life easier for both the people who are responding to the questions and for the reviewers, if that's possible in this
Right
case. And
into
I'm
the
not sure if
software,
there's
that's cool.
and more fun.
Yeah, and more fun, and it kind of breaks up them answering the survey questions. Cool idea.
And with that, those are my absolutely final thoughts.
Okay. Until you hang up the phone and you have 5 more.
Yeah.
Until, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitchell. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Have a good meeting. I hope it all goes well.
Thanks.
And looking forward to hearing what dates we'll do the training for Chili Fest and about Cherry's participation at Line Dance.
Yeah, we'll let you know as soon
Yeah,
as possible.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Which button is it?
Okay.
All right, that was good.
So
It was good feedback.
do we want to go through the survey first, or we want to discuss the possibility of Cherry coming for the engagement?
Let's start with Cherry.
It's easier. Okay.
I feel strongly that we should request the Board of Trustees that, I mean, basically you're talking between $2,500 and $7,000. And to me, that $4,500, having Cherry here and guiding all this and really being able to get a sense of stuff is kind of important, so.
I mean, I think you have good points. The only concern I have with it is that line dancing is a new event that's never been done before, and we don't really know how many people are gonna be there.
Right.
Right.
And so that's a lot of money to spend if we don't have
know.
a good turnout.
Yeah, I was thinking statistically, I mean, even if we had a good turnout, if there were like 100 parents and 50 children, if every one of them filled that out, how statistically important would that 150, well,
That would be a
regard the
lot.
children that are less than, 8th grade or something.
Yeah.
But how statistically important
But we
would
might,
that be?
it might be like 20 people fill it out, you know?
Or it might be 500 if it's a nice Saturday night in September and they're like, whoa, we have this.
I mean, we haven't even started really advertising
No.
this.
Yeah, line dancing isn't gonna be 500.
It might be small, you know? So that makes me wonder if it's worth the extra money,
Yeah,
even
if
though
every
she's great.
person
The only thing I'm
fills
concerned
something
about
out.
is I know they've got those amazing materials and things, and I'm like, well, what are we gonna, I feel confident that we could help, you know, get
Help
people to do a
her.
survey,
Yeah.
but we don't have those big
Well, we have
graphics
2
and
of them,
everything.
don't we?
Do we? Or do we have
already
them?
We have the
The chalkboard
mapping,
is
we
here,
have the
the map is here.
chalkboard.
I mean, how many engagements would we need either?
Well, and you have to remember, at the line dance, we are doing the pop-up prairie dog piece.
Yeah.
And
There's been a
so,
lot going on there.
So would it be better if we're going to spend that kind of money for Cherry to come to Chili Fest?
They
they
can't.
can't.
They can't. It's too late.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Chili Fest is, there's a lot of people that go, but it's not necessarily.
It's not that, kind of that close-knit community personal thing that potentially line dancing would be.
I think too, I mean, 50,000 was our total budget, so 7,000 is kind of a big chunk.
Well, it's not 7,000, it's essentially 4,500.
I mean, we're still gonna have to
We
do
still
20
have to pay
22
$2,500 for the.
training.
Yeah,
So we
but
have to go and ask. for-
regardless, we have to
And the
spend.
materials.
And the materials, so regardless, we're gonna have to pay $2,500. Do we spend the extra
Well-
4,500?
We have to ask for that money.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
our plan is to go and do it at Chili Fest and
Right.
at Line Dance. But we still have to ask for that money.
My
So,
feeling
Board
is
of
that
Trustee?
Chili Fest is bigger. I mean, my feeling is that if we're capable of running this booth at Chili Fest, the line dance should be smaller and easier.
Right, but then we still have the Prairie Dog component. So
Yeah.
we decided
So we
to
would
not do the Prairie Dogs there
That's
because we
right.
don't have the people to do it.
Yeah, so
We
we
have-
need to make sure everyone is available to do it.
Well, line dancing, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I just don't think it's gonna draw the kind of, attendance that we had at the spectacular, where we were really overflowed, and it was pretty much the three of us, running it at Prairie Dogs, and
Was that enough
are the
people?
three of us available for the line dancing?
I'm
I
available
am.
for the line dance, yeah.
Yeah, and.
You are, so that's
Well, and Mike would
three.
do it, so. So Neil, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, you said something earlier, Debbie, that resonated. I mean, I think a lot of this was supposed to have happened at the Superior Spectacular.
Yeah.
And we
The
got
weather wrecked.
major rain down.
Wrecked the ability to get the feedback that we were hoping for. So, if we didn't get out of it what we wanted with Superior Spectacular, now we're talking about spending a little bit of money to get the feedback. I think my feeling is, as you guys just went through and discussed, there's a couple of different options. One is try to do it ourselves, what we say is $2,500 for the materials and the training, or bring Cherry back in to help do that. I think the concern, of course, is going to be if there are a lot of people at Superior Spectacular, the weather got crummy, will we even get enough people at the line dancing to bring in that voice?
Right, exactly.
And I mean, I think, the point about it was a $50,000 budget, the incremental 4,500 is another 10% on top of a budget that, I think a lot of us didn't know. I mean, when we sent the RFP out, we didn't know what this was going to cost. I mean, we got four proposals, they're all around the same number. So, 10% over is not the worst thing, as long as we, have a sort of threshold on what it is that we're trying to get and how this is going to work better, weather permitting, than into the spectacular.
So $4,000, if you're looking, let's say you have 400 attendees, and now there's 400, which would be optimistic.
I mean, I'm thinking 100 maybe.
Yeah.
Well, can I just remind you, we did those block parties and we had, every single block party was packed.
Yeah, we had, and the block parties, we had, at least 400 at the block parties.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, we had, every single block party had at least 60 and some had far
Yeah,
more
yours
than
was-
that.
And
And
North
we
Pool was
advertise
crazy
free
busy.
food And ice cream, are we having free food and
Well,
ice cream?
so one of the
That's
things.
true, that would bring a lot of people.
That
Well,
brought-
Free dinner, you're right.
Here's my argument against free food, because we are doing the Very Prairie Dog pop-up. Who is going to be running the free food station? I mean,
No, my concern
Well,
is I
cater
think
or
people
everything.
only came for the free food.
People
the block
definitely will
parties.
come for food. that's for sure.
They'll always come for food, especially with the
no,
kids and
I
ice
mean,
cream.
no, that's not true. People
So I'm
come
not saying we should do that at the line.
events.
I'm just saying. And
I do
line-
think
and
that
line
if you're
dancing,
a
too,
family-
is a real niche, it's
Well,
not.
But the spectacular, food wasn't free and people came, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think if you're a family and it's a Saturday night and if whatever we name it, line dancing, whatever, if it goes from 4 to 6, if I was, and you guys maybe, since I've been out of that loop a while, but if I had kids and I came from 4 to 6, I think it'd be kind of cool to be able to have something to eat, nothing special. And it can be small,
Hot dogs.
but whatever.
I
yeah.
think we get a food truck. Honestly, I'm
A
not,
food truck or
I'm
whatever,
not
yeah.
saying that if we're
Yeah.
doing the Prairie Dog pop-up and potentially the Happy City thing, we are not gonna be doing food.
No.
We bring in a food truck, we bring in
Right.
ice cream, we bring in other things, but we do not schlep food. I'm
Right.
sorry, I
No,
just.
we
wouldn't-
can't.
It would be a caterer if there was food, right? Like, we wouldn't be buying.
But I
food
don't,
and setting up.
and I think that expectation of free food and everything is so, anyway, that's.
Well, or buy food, but have it so that because and again, you with young kids at home, that if you're going to an event from 4 to 6, you probably would be less likely to go to it if you were thinking, what am I gonna do for dinner? But if you know that you're gonna go to the line dancing from 4 to 6, then you have that opportunity to get whatever it is, hot dogs or tacos or whatever.
I
it might
think
be.
food trucks are a huge draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so
and I-
sorry I opened this can of worms.
No.
I didn't mean that we should have any food at the line dancing. My-
No, we've already
my
talked
point-
about food.
Yeah.
We actually
we don't
talked
need-
about
yeah.
barbecue.
Oh,
My
okay.
argument is not us doing it, which
Oh,
I
we
think.
can't do it, no.
There's no way we can.
I think that, well, I mean, that's what we were talking about, bringing,
Oh.
having KT's Barbecue or the Culinary Caveman or something.
But they would serve it though, if we hired them, they would
No,
just
Culinary
drop it off.
Caveman wouldn't serve.
Oh, they just drop it off?
Yeah, same with KT's. I mean, I guess you could pay somebody to serve,
Oh,
but,
I guess you're right.
but then why not just get food trucks?
Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
idea that you guys are trying to bootstrap in everything with your own sweat, tears, driving, having a handful of trucks show up and let the parents buy some food for the
Right.
kids, I think is probably a path of least resistance.
Yeah, the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, if it's advertised, then that would probably pump up the
Yeah.
numbers coming to
Yeah.
the line dance.
Well, and another thought I had is we have the opportunity and the ability to bring back some of the pieces that were at the main
Right.
event. So
Oh,
why
Oh, yeah,
not?
the mapping, the mural, the.
Why not bring,
popcorn.
well, I don't know if all of them were available. No, the artist pieces.
Oh, that's right, because we kept some of them, they said they
Well,
would let us use them.
were able to get them, some of them, there was the list, and I probably have it in.
That they would bring it back
That
for,
they could be brought back for
the
things.
line dancing, okay.
My suggestion would be to ask if we could get them. for
Right.
the line dance, yes.
So that $4,000, in terms of being frugal stewards of the town's dollars, is there some way that that $4,000 would be, doesn't even need to be spent, which I personally don't agree with, but that $4,000, is there something that we can do that would actually get more people to take the survey, or something that would encourage them with 4,000? I mean, I mean, if you're thinking of $4,000, which is what we're talking about, and we want good results. Any ideas?
I mean, what else, what other things?
Yeah,
can
I
we
mean,
do to
is there
encourage
better
people to
public
serve?
relations? Is there better advertising? Is there a better
I think putting out
social
an
media?
invite, to all your friends.
Are you
Yeah, but
thinking
we
like
can
an
do that.
incentive, like a gift card?
No, no.
But how else could we use that money?
How
to
else could we
promote?
use that $4,000 in some way?
Well,
I
here's
see
a
what you're
question.
saying.
So a survey was just put out for airport noise.
We have 3 surveys out
Yeah,
right
so
now.
there's surveys
And
out.
how are they doing?
And are they doing well just by, they were just posted on page, I saw it and I took it and.
Yeah. I mean,
did I.
Yeah.
The airport survey is done really well. A lot of folks in Westminster have taken it.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah, so,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
The other ones, I don't know how they're doing so far.
There's over
I haven't-
1,000 responses to the airport survey.
Is that what was
Huge.
expected? So that's good.
Is that
It's
Superior?
It's,
Well,
well,
that was
it's all of
that was
them.
All of
beyond
them.
Okay.
Okay.
Superior.
But right now, Superior residents are trickling down in response rate, and the people, like you said, around Superior are starting to catch it and take it.
Oh,
So of course, the software can allow us to pull reports for just Superior, but right now there's, I think, it might even be 1,300 responses, which is just unheard of. Seriously, it's a big
So,
response.
And that was just putting it on Facebook, really?
I don't know
There's
how
some
to
town
use it.
emails,
Yeah.
I mean, the town's blasted out
They had
emails.
blasted out.
And a lot of that's
Kevin
Louisville,
Clogan,
because Louisville
yeah.
blasted it
That's
out their
not
community
just
as well.
Superior. So maybe a few hundred are from Superior or something.
It was meant for
Kind of
Superior
questions.
residents. It's written to
How did
Superior
it get,
residents.
but then how did it get to these other?
You're
people?
probably
Just-
sharing
there's
Well,
no
no,
way to
yeah, I mean,
chain
the
it?
original survey was written by the consultants for both Louisville and Superior. So
Oh.
Louisville blasted it out, Superior didn't participate until now. Like, we didn't blast it out to the Superior community until about
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But Louisville was, they were the target, for the first
Yeah.
round. But
There were
Superior-
500 surveys responses in the first 24 hours. It was
From
unbelievable.
Superior or
Just in general. It's
so
unbelievable.
what would be optimistic for us
Okay.
answering?
So people
We
do
got
like
200
surveys.
surveys,
That would be
it'd
good.
be a pretty
We'd be happy with 200. But we think we could get that just from the town blast and things like that.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
a good example is we can check with Alex or Carlos on the 2 traffic surveys that are out right now. Those just went out a week or 2 ago. And those are supposed to be targeted to specific parts of town, but anyone can take them. So anyone can take them, but it's also going to be sliced and diced by base who's affected by the traffic.
How many did they get?
Well, they're going to be open for the whole month until like the middle of September.
And I think that we're riding on the coattails of that beautiful sculpture being put out there.
That's
And I
true.
think that's energizing and exciting, and people are like, art in Superior.
Yes.
So I
Leverage that.
think that we can really optimize that
Yeah.
in terms of getting people for the survey.
So we feel like we could get good responses from the
methods that we already have in place, the line dancing is not gonna be the big push that gets people to do the survey.
I don't see it that way. I mean, I have ideas and suggestions for helping the line dance be a little more robust, that are pretty simple. I mean, we have a budget for it, and it would be kind of fun, especially since the main event was incredibly popular. It just got destroyed by the weather, you know.
And this could get destroyed by the weather too.
Anything can.
With
anything
with
can.
paying for
We
Sherry
can't-
to come, you know.
Oh, yes, I see.
That,
what
you
you're
see
saying.
what I mean? Plus, and now we're reviving this idea of maybe food trucks, but I'm like doing the math, and the line dancing is September 21st, isn't it? And this is August 22nd, and our experience with the spectacular was a month in advance is too little notice to get food trucks.
Well, I think September will be
I
different than
think
the Saturday in
September is
August.
probably different,
Or July,
and,
yeah.
and an individual food truck.
I have a good suggestion for Dina, or question to Dina. What do you think? Can you get a food truck a month from now?
Try.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't divided what the job duties are.
She's
so,
just,
yeah.
it's a hypothetical question.
Help us with this decision to know, because you tried that before, right, with Crystal? Was it Crystal? What's her name?
Cassie.
Oh, you mean, because we were having a hard time finding.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know what events are going on that weekend. We happen to have our arts festival the same weekend. Boulder was having an art festival, and there was a food truck rally in Denver. It was the same night.
The same night of the main event.
It was a tough night.
It was a tough
It was a really,
night.
really rough night.
Yes.
So I don't know what's going on September 21st.
Well, and you could also go to like Lulu's, you know, they do a booth at Art Night or Street Fair. So they could set up a tent and bring barbecue and sell barbecue. You know.
I mean, I will say what Debbie's saying, you know, as a parent with kids, I'm more likely to come if there's a way to feed them.
Yeah, I think it's,
For it. That's true.
I just think really
Line dancing in
people,
itself is kind of a narrow, people that are interested in line dancing. But I think if we can say, oh, there's food and there's gonna be other games and engagement.
there'll be games and there'll be.
Because the prairie dogs were very popular.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and if people see that happening, they might come out, or, you know,
So back to the $4,000.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
guess I'm
back
on the
to-
fence, that's what it comes down to.
I think we could spend the 3,000, which would be the difference, better than having Sherry.
I mean,
No, it's 4,500. I mean, 2,500 versus 7,000.
what do we think she can accomplish that we couldn't do?
I think the biggest thing that Cherry would add in is this is her job. She's the expert at it. She's been in all these different places. This is her thing. And if she's at the line dance, and we're hoping if we could get 400 people at the line dance, then she may be able to bring that, just that kind of subjective gut feeling back to Happy City, you know, but maybe they already have it, so we don't need Cherry there to do that.
So you're talking about the way she would be able to engage with people
Right.
specifically?
I'm sorry.
The way she engages, the way she asks
That's me.
questions.
Oh, I was like, that's not me.
That's me, I will
So-
just ignore it, I'm sorry. It'll quit in a second.
I can go either way. I just want to make sure that the survey is strong and it brings a great sense of validity to what we take to the Board of Trustees.
It's supposed to be 4 weeks. I'm sorry.
Does anyone else have, Christina, have you have thoughts on?
I think we could do it. I don't know, just envisioning the event, I don't think it would be a problem, but I know what you're saying too with bringing experience.
Remember how Sandy always said, don't worry about the money, just do what you need to do and get it done well. So maybe that's,
I'm really,
again, Neil, our perspective is we don't know really anything about how much blowback we're gonna get from the Board of Trustees, where this extra $4,000 fits into a budget. I mean, we don't really know that.
Like, that's the problem too. You don't really know how confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think this comes, I mean, the conversation is great because you guys are really trying to find ways to economize. And I think, I kind of go back to the fact that you had a plan, 50 grand, with travel 61. And, you know, within that was, you know, a specific engagement period at the Superior Spectacular went out the window. We're trying to do things a little different. We want to continue that engagement, and we've looked at two options. One is to bring Cherry back down here to do it, and I don't disagree. I mean, what Sandy said is that if this was what we had intended from the very beginning, let's try to find a way to make it work. It is going, you know, it's going to add 10% to the budget. It's not anything, no one feels good about that, you know, I think.
Right, we're not spending your money.
Right, and I think, you know, hey, no one could have predicted the crazy lightning storm. You know,
We're just lucky no one got hit by lightning.
we're kidding.
So many nice nights and stuff.
I know.
No, and I think, you know, if CAPS is aligned with going down the path, bringing Cherry back in, I think the board can rally around that. You know, I think the challenge is always on one vote, you know, but I doubt anyone's going to push back and say, you know, we already gave you 50, what do we have to show for it yet?
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the process, and if we start, and this is a challenge always with budgeting, is it sounded like there was a $75,000 budget, which I didn't realize, and we whittled it down to 50. That's part of the nature. I mean, we did the same thing with the airport consultants. We kind of, you know, deprioritized what we wanted them to do, but then it's sort of like, well, you're not going to get exactly what you'd intended to do. Let's at least try to get what we intended to for 50. And if it increases, if we have to spend a little bit of money now, more than we planned, I think that's okay.
Because we, as a team, can be at line dancing and at Chili Fest. We intend to be at Chili Fest. But we're not trained. We're not those urban planner, placemaking people who have been at all these different kinds of events where they're really trying to gather those engagement stations and stuff. I mean, we'll be there, we can do it, but I don't really think we
Well,
maybe.
I guess the other side is that we are gonna have training.
Yeah.
And
we are
it's a
doing Chili
we
Fest.
have to already ask for the $2,500 anyway, because that's extra to be trained for Chili
Yeah.
Fest. So we have to ask for that. So is there a reason that we can't present both options and let the board choose? I mean,
No, and that's
we're
kind of-
literally sitting on
Yeah, that's kind of where
and
I was
we-
headed. You know,
That is a good idea.
present
This is what you, yeah.
2,500 to 7,000, and even if you weigh in, like, this is where CAPS would like to be.
Okay.
And you don't have to, they don't have to give us either amount. I mean, I would think that they would want us to be trained so we can at least do the events,
Yeah.
but they could say no to both. But I think
We present them with the $2,500 option or the 7,000, which is inclusive of everything.
Yeah, I think there might be another 250 to add in the other.
And the $250.
Oh, the $250 to interview.
And don't forget that.
Yeah, okay.
But I think you also mentioned it would be helpful for the board to know our position.
Well, I think that we're struggling with that. I think that we can sit here and debate all night and still not, at the end of the day, I don't know how I feel. It's really hard to get this information and try and digest it in a few minutes and really comprehensively understand, you know, do we have the person power to be actually able to run this at the line
I'll
dance?
say, you know, of course, we're not professionals in this field. However, I've run a lot of booths, and I know how to interact with people. I know how to talk to people. I feel like if I had the training, I feel like we could do it, especially since we are doing it for Chili Fest, which is a bigger, longer event.
Well, no, but you're not at Chili Fest, Terry's not at Chili Fest. It really is only Melinda and I.
I can't be.
Yeah, there's really only going to be two of us at Chili Fest. So, right there, at Chili Fest, you're having that weak link where you're depending on the CAPS volunteers to do all the stuff, which we have been pulling that load for 2.5 years, in all honesty. And I think that in order to get really those valid results, the $4,500 in the scheme of things.
But Sherry won't be at the Chili Fest.
And we still have to.
No, but that's why I think it's even more important that we have her at the line dancing and really try to build up the line dancing so that all of us are at the line dancing, not just Melinda and I. You're taking this whole huge event and filtering, you know, these engagement stations through just the two of us.
No, I'll be there for that. I think there's more people available for line dance.
For Chili, no, I'm talking Chili Fest.
But we still have to,
So-
the reality is we still have to ask the board for that money.
Right.
Yeah.
So even though we're planning to be there, we don't necessarily have the okay to go
even do
ahead and
that.
spend the money and get
Right.
the resources and get that training. So that's what
Say,
happens.
either way, we will make it work.
Yeah, we want to save you money, or what,
Yeah.
I could,
Yeah.
whatever you want to say.
I think we're being a little too frugal, but.
But I think that,
I don't think that's okay, right?
I mean, I think that's good. We want to be good public stewards of tax dollars. in the town and stuff like that.
In the end, it's their decision though, anyways.
Right, so if we present both to them and then they can decide, then
That's what I think. but I
they're
would-
deciding, they're making that
Okay,
decision, not us.
do we need to vote on that
I don't think so. Do we need a vote?
for the pre?
For Monday night to the board, we're presenting two options, the $2,500.
If you are presenting, if you want to recommend doing the activity, yes. If you don't want to recommend it, there's no vote needed.
Well, we're not
Doing both.
recommending.
So doing
We're
both,
still-
I guess, so we're offering both
pushing it-
options.
pushing
Oh, then yeah, you need to vote.
Well,
Okay.
it's already in the memo. I mean, yeah, the memo's already posted for the board agenda.
Right,
So the real
So
question
there's
is,
already-
yeah,
there's already an ask out there.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
there's
there
already
is?
asked in the memo?
Well, it's in your PowerPoint, you
Okay.
wrote,
So we can just-
is there additional engagement
details?
needed?
Oh, okay, I didn't think that we had details on the money or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's request for additional engagement information gathering.
Okay.
Happy City to train CAPS on method to engage with the community and collect input during Chili Fest 2019. Additional cost $1,500. And then the other one is Happy City to design and implement one creative, non-traditional community outreach and activity at the line dance pop-up. Additional cost $7,000. So the numbers aren't quite right. You know,
Right.
I think because they're inclusive.
Right.
And we can clarify that. I don't think the memo can be updated between now and now.
Right.
So it is what it is, but we can talk to it. I mean, as far as I read it, I think the rest of the board is probably going to read it the same way.
Oh, so this is.
This is the ask.
Okay,
Sorry.
and that's the cover memo that went with the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then, now I don't know, do we need to vote?
I don't think so.
Because
I
I don't think so, I think it's already covered.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Now on to survey. Now we can turn off the lights. And we, just keep in mind that we have other things to continue to discuss, so let's see if we can kind of whip through this.
So I thought what we could do is look at the website together, and I could explain some of the features the website has to offer, which will help us reduce some of the questions, like the mapping. So here's our first page of the website, and this is the town's page. Ours will be one of these 4 squares, and there will only be 1 square for the airport. Right now, it's very airport focused, but you can see here, there's a Facebook thing here, just promo stuff. It's just our whole engagement tool for online.
Can we put our picture there?
No, this is the front page.
Bummer.
So,
What do
if you
mean
go to the next page where we are, oops, sorry. Ours will be one of these squares. If you want the picture to be the sculpture, yes, but not this big picture here, right here.
No, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
all you see now is airport stuff.
Older though.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be.
Yeah,
Well,
good
that's a
question.
good question. You'll have to ask the
Fire
person
off the
who.
trail.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not
It
on the
looks
trail.
so.
Yeah.
Looks so bouldery.
Okay, hold on, it's not, let me get in here. Ah. I had it open, but it logged me out because it's been a while since I opened it, okay. Assuming I remembered my password, okay.
I hate having so
Okay,
many.
so I'm gonna show you, here's our project page, and I'm gonna show you a preview of it. So here's our project page, and we can change the picture here for us. So I just need to find a picture that's this long and
I
horizontal.
have a ton, there's a ton of
Yeah.
them on Art and Superior.
So
Great pictures.
what it looks like right now is, it's our creative master plan engagement page. On the right side, we can have, I don't know if we have a group picture of you guys, but we can put a picture here, And then the features on the right are called widgets. And we can have a lot of different widgets on the right side, who's listening, key dates, so our events can be up here, any other public engagement stuff we're doing, the round 1 questionnaire, that kind of stuff. Then there's a photo gallery, and I just uploaded 1 picture, so you could see it's a photo gallery. And then here could be a video gallery, and I thought I'd put whatever videos up we have that we want to put up.
The one that Daryl made.
Yeah, exactly. Anything like that. And then here's a link for people to register for receiving project updates. And then our first page here on the left, you'll see is our survey. So then a person will come here and click to take the survey.
So they have to scroll all the way down to get to that, to take the
that's not
survey?
good.
Well, this
Yes.
is what it is.
That's if they go to our first page.
Okay.
Now, when we do our links on Facebook and everything, it'll go straight to, the link
The
will take
survey?
them straight to the survey.
Because this, and I know I'm not hugely techy, but I'm not horrible either. I clicked on the stories part, and I'm going, what in the heck is going on
Right,
with
so
that?
the other features are, for this engagement website that we can use are, for example, one is called Stories, and you can put whatever words you want here and say, you know, please tell us about your experience, da-da-da-da-da, tell us your story.
Do you have to be a registered user?
I had to, they required me to register, by the way.
Well, that's only because it was a test
Sample?
link, and I had
Okay.
it set that way, because I didn't want any public people to find the survey and take
Oh,
it.
okay, got it.
So it can be open to anybody. Now, the service, Bang the Table recommends you get people to register, because then you can, there's a lot of benefits they suggest. But in our case, I would think we're going to leave ours open to anyone, so we don't discourage people. Then the other feature is to share your favorite place. And this is where I think we can cut back on several questions that we have. We can link in the survey people to come here. So in the survey, like the very last page can say, please show us your favorite places by clicking on this map. And then it'll take them to the map. And we can put here any color pin. So we can say, use a red pin for your least favorite place or places that need improvement. You know, we have one question is what places need improvement? So you can have them use a red pin to put in a place that needs improvement, and they can use a green pin for their favorite place. And then when they post a pin, then they can add a description.
What does that mean, use a pen, colored pen?
These little.
You drop,
like
see that pin right
teardrops.
there?
Yeah.
So you take a pin and you
Pins.
drop the right color on your favorite place. So one of the pins is defined as your favorite place, and you can drop it
Right.
where you want it.
And that's separate from the survey though, this is
It
another
is,
feature?
but we could link the survey to this, so at the very end, people go to this.
Is there a way to embed it within the question, or it'll take them to the next?
It would remove them.
It would
from the
remove them
survey.
from the survey, so we'd want to do it last. Thanks for taking the survey. Can you please share with us your favorite places on our story map, or whatever we want to call it? So then they're at the map and they're done, and then they just get out of it. So if they're at, oops. So if they could X out of the map, or they could stay on and they can go back and maybe they remembered there's, oh, I can give a story here, so I'm gonna go back to the story page. That kind of stuff. So there's a lot of interactive things on this whole page, so it's more than just survey taking. So, and with that in mind, as we're looking through this, here is our survey, and I wanted to show you what it would look like when someone clicks take. You guys already know this because you took a test. But, and then I thought, since we're at this page, do you want to just go question by question?
No,
Or
I
how
don't
would
think
you
we
like
need
to go now?
discuss every
I don't
single
think we know-
question.
I don't think we need
Let's just
to.
talk about the
Okay.
points that we have,
Right.
otherwise.
Sure.
Otherwise, yeah, we just need to get this out there.
Okay, so here are the two questions related to the map. So one question for you is, do you want to use the mapping instead of this question?
Yes.
These two questions.
Well, didn't
But
you
then
say
it
the map
takes
should be
you
at
out.
the
Oh,
end?
but then you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
it, but you
Yeah,
just
so
get rid
those-
of these two,
Oh,
and then
We
you
would
do the
delete
mapping.
these questions,
And add it
and
up.
then
Yeah.
when they're done at the bottom, it'll say, thanks for taking the questionnaire. Please tell us your favorite places by clicking on the map, and, you know, I'd give them a description of what to do.
I'm less inclined to do that because I think fewer people will do that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think you're done the survey, you're not
You'd
gonna
be like,
go
I'm
put
done.
pins on a map.
Exactly.
And you might not understand it either. I mean, I'm not opposed to removing maybe one of these to trim it down, and we can always move one to the round two, but I don't think using the map is.
Okay, now I have a question when I took this, Dina, since, well, you guys have young kids. So, the first thing you asked me, is to write something down or to think and write something. And to me, that's already kind of, if you're really busy, you're kind of shutting down that mental process in the very beginning. I don't know.
Or you just
Neil,
put
you
in
have little
something.
kids. I mean, you guys,
Right, and there are three
maybe I'm just
questions.
really like,
Yeah,
short
right.
attention
No,
span.
that makes sense.
We really need to reduce the essay questions.
We do.
Because,
provide a list.
I don't know who's gonna,
Chart 'em.
collate all the answers
Yeah.
and read them and.
I just think all of a sudden you're asking them to write something, and I just think people, when they're really busy at the end of the day,
It's hard to take time.
It's hard to take time to do it.
So pick
But
your,
they'll just type in probably 1 or 2 words.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not-
with the
they're gonna be
Riverbend
drop-down
Park,
lists.
with the Riverbend
Maybe
Park
not.
survey, there were some open fields,
How
and
did that-
there was a fair amount, I mean, I'd say, it's hard to remember exactly, but I'd say at least 30-40% of people wrote stuff in.
but they felt really strongly
They
about
felt
that.
very, there were some that
Those are
felt
people
very
That
strongly.
was a passion project.
Okay.
Ours is kind of like take a
So
survey.
is it people who are less interested, just skip it?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that sort of, I mean, yeah, I think the people that were kind of for something were passive, the ones that were against something, was very, a lot more comments in that direction. And I think it's probably true of most surveys, you know, if
Yeah.
you're.
Dina,
So
is
what
it
can be
possible
improved?
to skip any question? Just skip it?
I don't recommend that.
Well, I mean, is it possible for a
No,
person? Because it makes-
Technically,
it makes a
someone can,
difference.
we can allow them to skip it, but I don't recommend you let anyone skip any of these
Maybe,
questions, but the
you know,
demographics.
Maybe we just don't need
No, I
grade to staff.
you don't understand my
It's
question.
redundant a little bit.
Will that kick them out if they try to go to the
They
next
can't
page?
skip
it
it.
can't,
Yeah,
you get
good
an
try.
error
It's
and you.
required.
It
It's red.
says
Drop down,
you
then you
didn't
go back
fill
and-
out this.
And
question.
so each one of those?
Yes.
They have to
do
write
a-
an X or
Yeah.
something as
That's
opposed to
the best
writing.
way.
Yeah, you can just write a letter. That's all I did. I just typed a letter,
so you
number,
could,
and
if you
character
wanted to.
into them to go through it.
So I'm thinking maybe,
Space bar.
No, I meant
maybe we don't.
actually doing it. If we have, okay, what are your favorite shared or public spaces in Superior? Instead of leaving a blank for them to fill in, go, Purple Park,
Well, that's the
Wildflower
problem, then we're
Park.
gonna have 12.
No, we're gonna have a
See,
list
but
of
no, then
yeah.
you can have them pick their top 12.
Yeah.
I mean, have them pick their top 3 out of 12 or whatever it is.
That's
No,
more,
not
that's
12
almost
Actually, that
more
might be
thinking.
more, yeah.
more
Can I make a
12 choices.
suggestion,
Yes.
just because this is, I do this for work and with community engagement, so when you have these big text boxes, there will always be someone who's super passionate that writes a paragraph that's completely irrelevant, and then you have to have somebody who goes through and codes all of those things, and it can take a lot of time.
What
So
would
if
be
you
a
have a
better
drop-down
way?
box with like, check all that apply, check, 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 and then there's other, and you can limit it to like 50 characters, and then you
Oh,
can load
less,
those.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh
that might be
boy,
an easier way
okay,
to
so
do it.
we should list out some
Makes
things.
sense.
I think so. No, we
Even
can do
less?
it general, the parks. We can say the
Yes.
open space. We can say the, you know, we can,
Costco.
yeah, the shopping, the restaurants, the, you know, I mean, we could list very general topics.
Yeah.
First
flowers.
round, right, you're doing 2 possibly
Yes.
surveys, so I think
Make
you
it
would
super
be,
general.
have more respondents if you do 1 survey that's 10 to 15 minutes, and then those people will be like, yes, I want to give more input, and then they would be more likely to do a second.
Well, and that's why the mapping can be so useful here, because people will be interested in putting a pin down, and that gives us very pointed information.
Oh, right, we said to do that at the end, though.
Yeah.
No, we said to put it at the end, so then they leave the survey and they can go do the map
Yeah.
pinning.
For people
But
who
not to
really
really,
wanna do
not,
that. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
since we can't embed it here, we don't wanna
right.
okay. All right, so it sounds like we need to formulate that.
Also, I think you're
Yeah.
gonna do a drop down and it
So
can be
that was at
general
the
as
end.
well on the things that could be
Yeah, but we're gonna
improved.
keep
Yeah.
these here.
Right, check, it could be check boxes, and if you want to do 8, maybe 6 or 8 items, plus an other box.
And make the other boxes really small.
So,
Yeah.
So what,
Right. Yeah.
so what we did last time is we made a list, question by question, do we want this or do we not want this? So,
Oh my gosh. Now, Neil, when you did your.
is that too much for you to keep track of in doing the minutes, or? Terry's
I
like,
will
"Oh,
tell you
no."
that I don't think that we need to really come up with it. I'm fine with if we say
Dina
this is what we
does
wanna
it,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dina comes up
I
with the
think-
6 or 8 things and we don't, because otherwise I can just feel like we'll be here
I agree.
for so long.
Because the airport, you paid the airport
The
people.
consultants put that one together.
The consultant put it together.
Well, and
So-
I would love to spend more time on the visuals to give people ideas and get excited. I mean, as an art
Yeah.
survey, this is boring.
looking.
You know,
Yeah.
the transportation one looks so much more fun because they had cool pictures.
Well, and you
know?
remember I told you originally when I sent out the test that I had to figure out how to put pictures.
No,
in, so it's-
I
yeah.
understand that. I'm just saying that I would rather we spend time on photos than dicing out every single
Every
word.
single
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
And then maybe we
So our
won't
6 to
even
8
need
options
greatest
would be
asset
pictures.
because it's
Yeah.
kind of like.
And we can
favorite
ask
thing.
that later if we want. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that Rachel has a point. Let's get them excited to want to fill it out, you know, a second time.
At least
or
the
a second
initial time, I
round.
mean, we want at least an initial, and if they really are passionate,
Yeah.
take it a second time.
Okay.
And how useful is what spaces in Superior do you think you could be improved? The whole town's gonna be improved in the next year or two. It'll look dramatically different than it does now. We don't have any blighted areas or anything.
Yeah, but I think, feedback on, what people think is, we should prioritize. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
I
always
do
a
think
challenge.
that, yeah.
That's always a challenge. I mean, I
6 to 8
think everything's gonna get turned over.
Yeah,
but
Park
pictures-
1 and 2 or
Right.
something like that. I mean,
Right.
you know, the parks over there, I think those would be hot on people's lists, so I think.
I don't
it's
think they even
valuable.
know there's any Park 1 or 2.
Well, they don't know the name of it, but they could say down by the creek, down by the Element Hotel needs to be fixed or something. I mean, they're not gonna know the.
And one feedback we get on ProStack all the time is more shade for some of the parks. I
Yeah.
think that's
We
always.
could do shade sculptures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, really, because when I'm at Founder's Park in the old day with little kids, and I'm
It's hot.
sitting on the bench, I'm going,
Yeah.
Okay,
are
so
we
let's
done
just
with
talk
this?
about what we want to
So we're
do
done with
with
this
this.
section, or?
What was your suggestion?
We're just gonna do have 6 to 8 options for these 2 questions, take out the greatest asset.
Well, the asset I would suggest,
Oh, you
maybe
can
we
write
could do a checkbox with this one, and we can say parks, open, I don't know.
Is that
I mean,
gonna be the same
Isn't that what your
options?
favorite-
Your favorite
Redundant.
places.
It might be under
That's true,
redundant options.
that's a good point.
So so the plan is we'll keep the favorites shared, but with boxes.
right, choices.
Get rid of what spaces, or no, we're
That could
keeping the
be
what spaces
in
do
round
think could
2.
be improved.
Get rid of the
Get
asset.
rid of the assets.
I don't even like the way the questions, what is Superior's greatest asset? Anyway.
It's kind
Yeah,
of
we're getting
funny.
rid of that one.
And
We
then-
just decided.
This one,
And then if you describe Superior in one word, what would it be? I remember when we were talking, we wanted it to be the last question.
I do worry with it last, that people will not get to the end, because that does happen where
But they
people will
have
take some of
to take
them.
all of the.
They can, I think they can, I've seen it still record their answers. I will find out if this, I know SurveyMonkey does it, but I don't know if this one does. If they don't submit it at the end, does it still record their answers?
Yeah.
they
Let me
click
find
on
out.
the next page, it should.
Yeah, they click on save, continue. Okay.
Maybe that should be our first question.
No, we talked about it as, how it could wrap it up at the end. It's like a little carrot at the end to get them interested for the next survey that comes out.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see then, thinking of all the events. Oh, I wanted to suggest this 3 only because, and one of the reasons I was suggesting this and made that change is that you can't really have more than one favorite. And the way that this is worded, it was worded like this: think of the events that take place in Superior, which are your favorite?
It's kind of
So I
weird.
kind of felt like we just,
I like your suggestion. What is your favorite event in Superior?
and we could list them since we already know what they are.
Right.
And then a checkbox,
And then
maybe
for
they
one
pick
for
the top
other.
2 or their top.
And then one for other.
For other in case
I
we
like that.
miss anything.
What is your favorite event in
You could say-
Superior?
Yeah, then we have choices.
And
Chili
then just list
Fest,
them. Arbor Day.
Arbor Day.
Music,
Fourth of
music,
July.
is there music in the park?
No.
Anywhere?
No.
Oh, so
Movies.
Movies in
Movies
the
in the
park,
park.
Movies in the park.
things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it educates people.
Okay, I
on all
copied
the
that down.
events.
What is your
Yeah.
favorite event in Superior and choices?
Well, 6
level of
choices.
interest you have.
Six
Now, what are your
choices.
top 3,
Okay.
you want to say top
I
3,
would
top
just say,
2? or
I would
what?
just say, what is your favorite? Favorite is
Or
a
how
favorite.
about just-
What's your one favorite?
How about you could click
That's
all
what it
that
says.
apply, I don't know, do we? or
One
we just-
favorite?
Well, that way you can prioritize if we just do one as to,
Yeah, like 100 people liked the Chili Fest and 50 like 4th of July, or, I don't know.
yeah.
Well, you'll figure it out.
No,
Well, no.
she's asking us.
She's asking us, we need to get the
I
wording
think it's just
now.
the favorite.
Yeah.
It's just
What
top
is your
one.
favorite event in Superior?
And some of it, like Rachel was saying earlier, is what do you want to know And we have to kind of think of what we're analyzing as we're developing.
Right,
the
so
session.
even if you
Yeah.
do check all that apply, there'll be themes that come up throughout all of them, like 80 people said Chili Fest out of 100, well, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
If you only want to know the top one, that's a different kind of question, I don't know.
Oh, so top 3 is a better way to analyze
If you do
the
top
data?
3 and you do all that apply, someone will check all 5 or
Yeah,
whatever.
someone will check all of them.
But
And
you
then it
can
kind of
limit it
washes
to one
out
top
all the
choice,
answers.
like, so, all that apply or one would be.
Oh, so you say, what is your favorite event in Superior? Check one or more?
Check all that apply
Check all
or
that apply.
click your
Just
favorite
what's
and then
one?
you can limit it so they can only click one.
So either or,
Yeah,
depending on what you want to
because
find out.
even if you say choose your top 2, someone will choose all of them.
Well, we
Yeah.
can require, it will only allow you to pick 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we can set.
All right, so do we want just 1 or do we want 3?
Rachel, what do you
How
think?
many events do you have total?
I would say
Maybe
there
6?
probably maybe 8, including the things we don't do as a town, like that are just someone else.
You have,
I would do 3.
you have Arbor Day, you have 4th of July, you have Chili Fest,
3
you
total.
have
Oktoberfest.
Movies in the park.
Oktoberfest, you have Movies in the Park, you have Skate with Santa,
And we can still do other.
Superior's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
the Superior Spectacular. Hope you
And
do that
listing
again.
them will educate people, because I've never
Okay,
heard of
so
them.
we'll
Okay.
keep it at top 3.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so this is how I changed the drop-down problem we were having, the one that says creative placemaking initiatives, rank your favorites, or rank your preferences, I think it said. So I put it this way, below the list of creative placemaking initiatives, what level of interest do you have in these ideas?
I love that approach, by the way.
And,
Yeah.
and it, you know, we can wordsmith it here, but, so the idea is we list everything on the left, and I still think we can combine some of these things. But very interested, somewhat uninterested. I have to
I
double
love
check
that.
if that's a word, but, and not interested.
I think so.
And what's this called?
Because this goes faster. It's called a Likert scale.
A Likert scale. I like that.
L-Y-K-A-R-D?
And then,
L-I.
and this is the question that Mitchell had, the specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Limit it to 8.
Limit to 8, so can we
Specific
consolidate
suggestions.
Yeah,
those
so
on the
for
left?
example, art
About-
in underpasses is art in
Is
public
public
places.
places, yeah.
And
I
so
would-
is street murals.
Yeah, and then
Street murals
in
are
the second
somewhere.
round, you can have them be more specific.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, my thought was, let's delete art
Poetry and storytelling.
underpasses. Delete, I might have accidentally just not added street murals, but that was on here.
Yeah, we're over that.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't
I don't
think,
think that
I
art
don't
in
think we
public
can eliminate
places.
art in public places.
Yeah.
Remember how we were
Well,
gonna, with the multi-use, how we were gonna combine a couple of the multi?
Yes, multi-use
Yeah,
space
the
or
creating
something.
co-working and vacant commercial was going to be combined into multi-space use or
Multi-use.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
The one called Creative Co-working Spaces?
Yeah.
and the one underneath it.
Okay.
And put the 2
Combine.
together.
Put the 2 together and call
And I
it
think he
multi-use.
also included energized vacant commercial buildings in that one.
Well, exactly.
Well,
So,
and there, well,
Oh, did you?
Okay.
And so art in underpasses, I think we have like one underpass.
no, we have lots of underpasses,
We have
she's
a ton.
combining it with art in public places.
Good, so art in public places is still gonna be there,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Those words,
Yeah.
art in public places, good.
And then, so creative co-working, energy.
no, when they take it the
The only
second
thing,
time,
like Creative Gardens, does that make any sense to people?
it doesn't
Like,
make sense to me at
No,
all.
it doesn't make
No.
sense to me either.
No, I'm like,
Can we-
do you
can
want,
we just
do you want
social?
community
Is it
gardens or do
social
you want a
community?
sculpture
I would
garden?
either say community gardens or take it off.
Yeah, I would.
Sculpture garden, but that is
But
art
that's
in public
different.
places.
That's
That's
art
art
in
in
public
public
places,
places.
yeah. And if they take round 2, then you could put, you know,
Yeah, I like
If you want
community
to, but-
garden though.
Community
I
garden.
mean,
That's
we can
pretty
change it to
straightforward,
community
right?
gardens. I think creative gardens, as people going, what?
Like, oh,
What?
it's a community
Yeah.
garden.
Community gardens, and you can be creative in the community gardens, but,
There's been a lot of people talking, but have we consolidated gathering place or cultural hub with social clubs or groups? Because I think those could be combined.
Maybe, yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, and then Mitchell, I'm looking at his list. He says,
Gathering
how would
place.
poetry and storytelling manifest itself into a public space?
Gathering
So
place
maybe that becomes something,
or cultural hub.
Performances?
I mean, that's what you would do in a gathering place. I don't think
yeah,
that
like,
you actually.
you would go to a coffee shop and listen to poetry, or go to a library and hear storytelling.
Gathering place or cultural hubs, social clubs or groups, I'm sure those two could be combined.
What I was trying to get at with that one, poetry and storytelling, is just the literary arts. So how do we include that to say people are interested in activating our public spaces with literary arts?
Well, then leave it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well,
Okay.
we really should come out with 8.
There may be a way to
we
wordsmith it,
we
Dina.
whittled it down,
I see what
haven't
you're
we?
getting at, but
I don't think so.
I'll try
We're not
to
there yet.
narrow it down
We're
to
not
Yeah.
there yet.
I think we
8. Do you wanna
have,
do it
if we
tonight?
take out art and underpasses, we combine energized vacant with creative co-working spaces. So that's 2 spaces.
Right.
So that's, we've got a total of 3 now.
And gathering place or cultural hub and social clubs, we can combine that, that would be.
Yeah, we could do gathering
4.
place and cultural
And isn't
hub.
outdoor music, like, would that be an event or no?
Well, outdoor music, yeah, would be like music in the park.
Right, but can you combine it with number 1? Or art?
Well, I think it's I mean, I think it's like the poets, we're trying to understand, and we're trying to expand just the notion of art.
Right.
And I think people we've talked about this a lot, people hear the word art and they shut down, but
Do
they
a
say poetry,
performing
they
space.
say music.
Do a performing space, and that can be music, that can be
But we don't
literature.
So I think this has to be things that we have.
I thought about that too, but I think that does sound more like a second round thing.
This would be stuff that they might be interested in that we could do, not necessarily that we have right now, but something like, here are some program ideas, what do you prefer? Or what are you interested in? We could do, for example, we could do all of these things, but we're trying to get them to help us prioritize.
That's the whole point of the survey, is to
Right,
getting priorities.
exactly.
Tell us what you want to see and what you want to do.
Well, and it's a
think
broad
there's a
idea,
line
and then
now.
round
That's
2,
not
you
too bad.
get
Well,
more
how many
specific,
more
so you'll
below
have
the
more.
screen though?
If people say they like music in outdoor music, then we say, okay, would you like to see it in a park? Or would you like to see it in the street and do a festival?
In the
You know,
But it might not
in
be
the
other
dark,
right?
Can you scroll down, because what's
How many
other
more
social
left?
hubs
Yeah.
or groups?
Oh, yeah,
Others,
So I
okay.
think we're at 9 now.
And this
Can we
doesn't
just-
work here.
I had a total of 4.
Changes, you mean?
4
That we would have 4 items.
left out.
Oh, only
No,
4.
4 on the list, period.
Oh, okay, tell me
That's
what
what
they
I'm-
are. Tell me
Well,
what they
I
are.
was just counting them as we did them, I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay.
Art festivals, art in public spaces, the combination of the co-working spaces and the vacant buildings,
So we eliminate the creative gardens?
the cultural hub, and that's where we were.
The Creative Gardens turned into community gardens.
Community gardens.
It's got to be community or something. Creative Gardens doesn't describe it.
Okay, so 5 is community, and then we've got public space improvements, I guess that could be 6.
I'm not sure that,
I'm not sure we
I
need
think we
that.
can leave that one out.
Okay, so we're at 5.
Well, what about outdoor movies, music, social?
Poetry and storytelling.
Poetry and storytelling.
That's
See, those could, to me, those are things that are almost like performing
Like outdoor performances, yeah.
spaces.
So could we use those
Just got
as
an idea.
examples? So you have like 4 main categories, and then you have like parentheses, and then if everyone
Music,
says outdoor
poetry.
movies or park, then you can drill down more in the
Yeah.
second survey?
Yeah.
Just so it would be more simple.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, so could we get the list? It's arts festivals and events.
I think Dina has it.
You have a total of 8 there, Dina?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Good.
Okay. Then the next one, oops, let me just add the answers here so we can go to the next
Can
one.
you do other?
No, I think that just transferred over I changed the question type, so I'll have to play with that, but I don't know if I can do other. All right, oops, I didn't add something. Okay.
Okay, could I mention something before you continue? There's 2 things. Could you go back up to the top, please? The next question will help us understand your preference and help us prioritize new projects. Putting those in here and there and everywhere is such a delay and waste of time. And it's like elementary, like I'm being instructed. It's kind of patronizing.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's actually a guide, and it's just a way that we do surveys. I mentioned to you last time when we had our meeting that there are just some things I'm gonna put in here. You guys are participating and helping figure out what the questions are. I'm working on the infrastructure and the methodology, and these introductions to the sections are gonna remain.
Did you just say you're gonna put in whatever you want on those descriptions?
No.
Because what I remember is we talked
Excuse me,
about
I
whether,
didn't say that,
excuse me, I'm
Marcia.
talking, we talked about at the last meeting whether those were required or extra or patronizing and slowing us down, and we actually took a show of hands. So are you saying that when we have a group, we all decide upon something, that you're just gonna go ahead with whatever you want anyway?
Marcia, no, I didn't
That's a
say that.
question.
Marcia, I
Yes or
did
no?
not say that. And Marcia, no, you guys did not take a vote. And Marcia, I told you at the last meeting that there are some things infrastructure-wise that I'm going to keep on here because I'm the staff liaison. And I've done over 24 surveys in the community around the state. And I know how to do these.
But all the wording that you put in here, I think we've got a problem here. Who's
Marcia,
steering?
no.
Who's steering this?
I am not an expert. You are not an expert. Dina is the expert. She's the staff person.
It does not show that with all this cumbersome language.
I disagree.
It does not show that.
So let's just go on.
We heard it from Mitchell. This does not show professionalism.
Mitchell did not say that.
He did not
first of
say
all.
that.
He said over and over, we need to shorten this
Marcia,
instead
I'm
of
not gonna
lengthen
take
it.
this treatment anymore, and I'm telling you, if you cannot be professional and nice to me, then this is gonna be a big problem, and I am not gonna take the way you're treating me. And the way you treated me by email this week is not acceptable. So I need you to stop.
Now who's being unprofessional?
Okay,
Okay, we need to,
let's get this done. It's 8 o'clock. Let's go. Let's just go.
Can we put social media instead of online, or is online better for the first question?
well, I think they're two different things. I think.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, I think that social media is online, but not everybody's on Facebook and Instagram and doing social media. There's newspapers online, there's event calendars.
But that's
online.
media, isn't it? Newspaper? Or? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
I may not have changed this yet, so that we could talk about how you wanted it to read. I can't remember what the original and then the revised and this is, so we can just decide now if you'd like.
No, I think you changed it back.
Did I?
Because it said US mail, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, and then I alphabetized it, that's why it looks different too.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I mean, maybe online
makes
just
sense.
said
It doesn't matter.
and or social media,
It's
because I
small.
think it's, but I personally think they're two different things.
Yeah, because you could get a calendar online,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then you
there's
could do a
there's-
social
You
media.
can just be
yeah.
online, and you
Yeah.
don't have to be doing social media, so I just don't, I don't want to put all our eggs in social media basket, because I
Yeah.
don't think that's a true data point.
Isn't that kind of a redundant question?
Yeah,
the
why do we
second
need
one?
them both?
Yeah.
Which one?
How do you get information about arts events and
Oh,
festivals?
that's what happens
That's if
when
you
you click other.
Oh,
When you click
okay.
other, it just drops
Oh,
down the same.
okay.
the
Otherwise,
same
you don't
question.
see it.
So you know
Okay.
what you
okay.
are answering.
That was confusing.
I always click on the other to double check it's working. So it opens up a new box so you
Okay.
can write in what you want to write in.
Okay, but again, that's gonna mean somebody in the staff or one of us is gonna have to collate that sort of thing.
Yeah, but they should be allowed to say other.
Yeah, and this might be a quick one, like I don't think they'll give us an essay, maybe just a couple words. I don't know.
You never know.
Give them a big white box, you never know.
Make it short or small box.
Okay, I don't think we had questions about this one.
No.
No, like that?
This one, I was gonna suggest maybe we don't do check all that apply, but like maybe 3, what do you think?
Well, I thought that was one of the comments that came back, that sometimes the check all that apply, wait. what was it?
I would guess it's unlikely someone did everything.
Yeah, mine was a live music performance. I think I had 3 or 4. Visited an art museum, went to a movie, a live performance. I think that was it for me.
Well, if they really want to go through and click 12 boxes, I'd say let
I
them
was
click
just
all that
looking-
apply.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at the Likert scale, and I think that the
It's
10,
similar.
if you flip it with
Do
10
first.
down here, because didn't the other Likert scale you did had 10 at the other side?
Oh, so make it
Sometimes people
consistent.
get
Oh,
confused.
make it the
Oh,
same,
you're right.
okay.
Okay.
I'll double check
Value's
that,
the same.
thank
The
you.
value being the same, got it.
Yeah.
This isn't really a hard question to answer. I don't think it would really.
It won't take them much time.
No, you're gonna, yeah.
It's either
It's
click, click,
fun.
click, yeah.
It's
yeah.
fun to answer.
Okay.
Didn't really have a comment on that one, did we?
Okay, let's see.
But didn't you?
Oh,
what-
I went too far. We might have already, we didn't go over this one yet, okay. Did you have any
No, I
comments
thought
on
you had
those?
I thought you were saying, your question was that weren't these too similar?
Mhm.
Like-
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was, what type of public art would you like to experience? That one, I think you said maybe it was a round
second,
2.
yeah, that
Yeah.
seems like a round.
And I took out events. It said, where in Superior, wait a minute. Where in Superior would you like to see public art and events? And I took out events.
Yes, that's different.
Because it would be a different answer potentially. So that was the change on this one, now that I remember.
You know, one of the
Then I
things
don't-
where you might add a checkbox, just for those that say all of the above.
Well, there's an other.
Yeah, but, you know, like say, hey, I'd like to see art in the parks and the trailheads and, you know, eventually,
Yeah.
you know, we want to see it
Again,
everywhere, but,
I think if they're gonna, this
Yeah.
is what we were just saying, if they want to click all the boxes, they're allowed to.
Right.
But I don't think giving them a box that says all is
Yeah.
okay.
necessarily.
One thing that I think about too is
meaningful.
the report we're gonna get is whether it's a bar graph or a pie chart, it'll say parks, 70% of the people, trailheads, 50%
Okay, gotcha.
of the people.
Okay.
And so then our report comes out, and then if it
Okay.
just says all, we won't know what the all is.
Okay, gotcha.
And this gives them, yeah,
Yeah.
and they could click them all if they wanted to, for sure.
Okay,
So-
this
What
one
type
we're
of
moving.
public art?
Right.
Should we ask them to pick their top 4 or just,
Again, if we want them to take this under 15 minutes,
10 minutes.
I mean, in a perfect world, it's 10 minutes, you're getting, what do you think, Rachel? You got any ideas?
I thought we were thinking of moving this.
I thought that was,
Yeah,
I thought that was a
Okay.
session
So
2.
take
Yeah.
that out.
that's great.
It's getting pretty nitty gritty. We just want them to give us,
Yeah, general.
yeah,
Oh, here's your list of questions, I printed it out.
okay.
Jeez. I knew I had it somewhere. What
I
type-
think you've gone through most of them, I'm looking, I'm
Okay.
keeping an eye on.
Right.
So this is going to, okay.
And is that one like the other one too?
What types of
Like the ranking
creative
one?
and cultural activities would you be interested in experiencing? It is.
I feel like, yeah, these
Yeah,
are all.
well, that's a
It's a good, easy list. I
a
wanna see-
redo of
that's
the
what
question.
we
I would agree. It's a good, easy list to
I like
reinforce.
So
Yeah.
keep it, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Share any additional thoughts, and then.
Yeah.
Save it, oh, we're still
There's
not at
more.
the end?
Oops, hold on, let me
Well, the
see.
demographics.
I think it's the
okay.
demographics.
Oh, right.
And the demographics are,
Pretty
Fast.
they're not required.
Oh,
Okay.
And then also, add the question that Mitchell was suggesting at the
Yeah,
end.
we can
Okay.
do that.
To go to the
Yeah,
map.
do you have any skills?
Oh, and, yeah.
What arts and culture skills do you have that you want to contribute to Superior?
and is the click on the map thing gonna be at the bottom?
Yeah, and so then after you, our tech person suggested you click submit, and then your next window comes up and says, thank you for taking the survey. Please participate in whatever we call it, the story mapping, and click here.
Okay.
And then it'll take them straight to the map.
Sounds great.
What about our one word in in Superior.
People liked it better at the top, so that's fine. I
Oh,
don't-
really?
Yeah, it's the very
fine.
first question or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
Like
just,
third or
it
fourth,
was a
but-
comment that
yeah.
I wrote down from our notes, and so that's why I
Yeah.
put it in there, and if people want, and I don't really have a
Yeah.
preference where it is, so.
Either.
I
Okay.
I was
Alright,
just
let's
trying
I
to
think we're
honor.
good.
And I vote that there's no more feedback.
We're done.
Well, just so you know, when I was on the ProSAC committee, we did a survey, and it was a
Oh,
lot
really?
of work. It
Okay.
was,
So
and
this
the,
is
and the
not
committee worked
unusual.
on it, so this is not, that's
All
part
right.
of why I was asking the timeline questions, because, you know, we're trying to condense stuff into really short timeframes, and it's challenging.
That's true.
And it's a lot of things back
That's
to
true.
back for us, you know,
Yeah,
so.
and we did really take this down from quite extensive to,
Yeah,
so that was a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, we went
So-
through a lot to get it concise.
So yes, you know, it is, but ProSAC was very, very heavily involved in, they had a subcommittee that did it, but then we all sat around the table and went through the survey questions and really, you know, like line by line, word by word.
And I think they did participate in the park one that just came out.
Yeah, the ProStack, I don't want to say that everyone was involved, but it was a similar
Yeah.
kind of thing that we just
You
did
mean the
here.
Riverbend?
Yeah, the
Riverbend,
Riverbend
thank
survey.
you.
I think it was, you know, board, you know what, I take that back. There was a subcommittee that met over at, across the street to kind of sort through the questions because it's not easy. And then we kind of review the final and provide some more guidance.
Right, it's a time consuming project,
But I mean,
so
I think
thank
it
you
was
all
the same,
for.
it was the same process. We got a lot of questions out. And then when we got the results, it told us a lot.
Yeah, and for us, we have round two, so I
Yeah.
feel like,
It's really good.
I feel very confident that we'll gather some information and then hopefully we'll excite people for, you know, round two.
And pictures.
Yes, I will try to add the pictures too.
And if you need me to help source photos for you,
That'd
let
be
me
great.
know.
Yeah, if you could think of any that you like, that you can.
Well, do we have access to some of the ones Mitchell used at the?
I bet we can get some, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because those have some ideas that,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so it is now almost 8:15 and we are supposed to be done and we still have 3 items on our agenda. So suggestions for, one thought I have is the line dance. We have a subcommittee meet and
Right,
do a
I agree.
planning. And we do need to, I think, review the renderings so that we can get feedback back so that we can keep those prairie dogs on track. So is that okay if we continue? Okay. The bus shelter will have to get rescheduled.
Right.
And hopefully we have just a couple minutes for the, I don't know.
So line dancing goes to committee,
Yeah,
bus shelter, table it,
yeah. And
main
let's,
event follow-up, we've all made our lists,
Yep.
right?
yep.
To
And
the-
that'll go to October.
Yeah, that can go to October, but we've made our lists already. Thoughts, suggestions, changes?
You mean on the bus shelter?
No.
No,
On the main event,
the-
Superior Spectacular.
Okay.
And one thing I do want to mention too is next month, we are starting our work plan planning.
Oh.
Yeah, just kind of put that in your head. I will make sure that we get copies of our current work plan so we can look at it and then just know that that will be on the agenda.
That's for 2020, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Who's on the line dancing committee besides Terry and I?
I have a gazillion ideas. I have
Okay,
a lot of
no, it's good.
thoughts about it and how
Okay.
to,
Okay, and did Melinda want to do that?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm not going to sign her up, she's out of town.
okay.
So then, just let me know when you guys meet.
Okay.
And where,
We better do it
so
soon.
that I can just.
Did you
do
get an
a-
invoice?
I did, yes, thank you.
Oh, I forgot they were sitting on the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make sure that you
Okay.
have it so that we
I'll
can
start.
have it in a public place, so it's
Okay.
noticed. Okay. All right, so let's talk prairie dogs. Can you bring up our new and
Yes.
improved prairie dogs?
Yes. Oops, we started with the backside, okay.
Great.
I gotta say,
No,
I thought that was the old one.
no.
yeah,
I thought we were getting rid of him.
Yeah, he's not acceptable, really.
Well, he's much cleaner, like
He's
his
much
fur
cleaner
looks
than before.
better.
it still looks more scary than.
He's still creepy.
Grumpy.
And,
Feels like it.
and he's not even sitting on the ground.
Okay, so let's just talk specifically what we would like to change. So the eyeball needs to be, can we do the eyeball more cartoony, less realistic?
That's what, Neil?
Less
little scary,
realistic.
yeah.
Would you like
Yeah,
to
it's
smile?
scary.
And it needs a little more of a smile, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they left out the smile. He's not smiling anymore.
I gave them your guys' exact list, so.
Yeah.
They took out the smile.
Maybe a red
And we
nose.
talked about the
You what,
tail
Neil?
not being.
Little red nose.
Yeah, and the tail not looking
Exactly.
like
It
an
is
appendage.
smaller, it's much smaller.
It says, you said smaller and wider.
It's certainly not
Maybe
wider.
we had said wrapped around the side instead of.
Oh, yeah, that actually is a great idea. We didn't say that. We just said, but that's, if it's down and sort of wrapped around his body, that's a great idea. I'll see if I can find a visual
But
of
the head
that.
shape looks exactly the same to me.
Yeah,
But he's-
I don't
Besides
see
the
any
nose.
difference.
The nose is different, because it's not, before it was like pointed up a bit like a ski slope, now it's not. But besides that, the head is exactly the same, and they just took away the ears, which was good. The ears were really scary. Although, yeah, maybe they elongated it.
It was weird.
And look, now he's frowning.
He is frowning.
He's frowning. He used to be
Grumpy.
smiling. How could they get that wrong?
Or-
Well, let's just focus on what we want to change, and if we want him to be smiling again, let's just note that. So
Did we
want-
send the reference photos or no?
We did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to say it, I just think it should be cute.
Yeah, I thought whimsical was a
Whimsical.
That's
word
so
that
vague
we.
though, because
Yeah.
like,
So
if,
vague.
what I think is cute and whimsical is totally different from what someone else thinks is cute and whimsical.
Well,
Because they
they're-
probably thought the nose was cute and whimsical.
The nose is better, but
The nose
the
is
eyeball
better
is
now.
still too realistic, I think. It doesn't have a.
Yeah.
And it's still in the
How many
middle of
times
the
can
head
we
as
change
opposed
this?
to-
You were gonna
Yeah.
ask.
This is
Oh,
it.
jeez.
This is our last.
Without getting more charges.
Is it right?
Well, I do think a picture's worth
raining?
1,000 words. The words are obviously not working very well.
Well, you guys are the artists. All I know is it needs to be funnier and it looks creepy.
I mean, they have
And I'm not an
images.
artist.
They
They
have-
have
draw
your, they
a
already
smile?
have, they have your
You
drawing
drew it.
already. They have.
A different one. Obviously, they made the nose pointed, which I didn't have, and they've not done a good job with that tail at all.
Look at that, you're like, oh my God, he's
I
coming
feel like
for
it's
us.
gonna be vandalized.
And he's not smiling. There were huge smiles on my drawing.
Yeah, the people that are frightened of rodents will really hate this.
Yes.
No, I don't know. It's true. I don't know where to go.
Can I do another drawing for you and bring it to the next meeting in 2 weeks and see what you think?
It's not up to me.
Well, I think that we need to give them.
Can we have like a Prairie Dog subcommittee and the artists sit down
And
and,
we can sit down and.
because I mean,
Sure.
this is, I have no idea.
Yeah, and we
There
don't
needs
have
to
a
be direct
deadline. We don't have a
communication.
deadline on this, like it has to be done in a month or something. So
Well-
I think we should hold out for getting it right.
We don't have, you're right, we don't have a deadline, but we wanted to keep moving on the
Weren't they the
process.
ones that did the, what were the meerkats? Isn't that the same company that
Yeah,
did the
she did,
meerkats?
yeah.
The meerkats
Those
looked
looked
good.
much better.
Right, but we don't know who designed those.
Oh, they did it,
It's
we
just
don't
a
Yeah,
know.
I
different
mean, you
design.
guys are designing by committee, which usually doesn't work very well, so I'm
No.
not surprised we're struggling.
So these people are not designers, is what we're saying?
Well,
We don't know who designed
Who's-
any of their stuff. I mean,
Right.
usually a
Or-
graphic designer
Well,
might,
who designed this one then?
their graphic designer people did, but
Okay.
usually, I mean, they could get a rendering from an artist who does animals, and then that's how they make their.
You what?
Well, and maybe
Meerkat.
I can take a crack at it, and see if I can work
Because
on
the
this.
profiles are really cute. The profile prairie dogs that the kids painted are really cute.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a tail sticking out, so I have a feeling we can't do the
Can't do
tail
that.
sticking out, but we could do like your tail wrap, so maybe we can get the tail wrapped. I'm looking at Prairie Dog pictures. Let's
Okay,
do a subcommittee, we can sit down, I'll see if I can sort of,
Yeah, that's-
work on this a little bit to give a better direction, and we can,
Maybe a
I like that
feathery
idea.
tail would look better than just that. You know what I mean?
And we can't do the tail on the ground, right? Like how they stand with balancing. We can't do that because people would trip or something. What was the deal
I
with
don't
that?
know why.
I think he
Because they
should be
do-
sitting on the ground, but his
they-
bottom is
they
round.
do tip-
Can we ask that
Put their
question,
little
if we can
tail
have his
down.
tail sticking out like our silhouette prairie dog?
Sure, because that's how they
Just-
balance them.
Or did we have to have that tail up?
I'll find out.
Okay, that would be a
That's
great
an easy
question.
Yeah,
And
because
then
one of the
let's-
drawings had it curled around his leg
Okay,
on the bottom.
go artists.
Okay,
Landscape,
landscape,
and then some other discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, we've done
Okay.
this, okay.
So the landscape plan, has, been modified. I don't know when you guys last reviewed it, but I do believe you saw the design that had the swirl.
Yeah, it's
Do you
probably
remember
been
the
a
swirl?
year or so
It
ago
was,
that we saw it.
It was
meeting
like
I-
a,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a meeting, I wasn't here, so it was like
Yeah.
June or July of last year.
yeah.
It is a long time.
So that was really expensive, as you can imagine, it was like $30,000 or $40,000. So, the designer went back to the drawing board and, she reduced the design, but the swirl just wasn't working well, and, it was decided, because now we're so late in the season, that we, should wait till next year to do plantings. So we can't just leave a dirt mound. So it was suggested that we go back to the original design of the roundabout, which was approved in the FDP, Framework Development Plan. And so I gave her, the designer, that information, and she came up with this idea, because we still wanted the big boulders. So we have a pile of big boulders that are available, which is why I showed you the next photo, which, let me go to that page real quick. So we have a bunch of these boulders available, and this is how they get situated. So these are not the kind of boulders that stand upright, and they're obviously not big boulders like big boulder rocks. So the idea would be to organically stack several of them in such a way that they will be layered. They will still lead your eye up and build up to the sculpture. And then just place some rocks around, the big stones around the outer area. And then this area here that you can see is labeled 3-inch cobble mulch. So then that would be placed out. And then next year, that'll give us more time to figure out the plantings and the budget. We are, as you may already know, very over budget on this project. So we need a little bit more time to figure out the plantings, and as well as we're pretty much at the end of the season for planting. So this would be the plan for a winter landscape.
Is there water out there?
There is,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, because all those other plants
That's true, all this other
were being watered.
I like the boulders.
Where are
I
the
like
lights?
boulders.
The boulders, but they're not boulders really anymore, they're stacked. Did she, the designer here, Sharon, get
Shannon
the
Weber?
information from Dow, what he wanted?
Yes, she's also been out there with Dow to the stack of rocks, and they've made a plan together.
I really like the one on the right.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, even the way that some of them, like the one here is like tipped a little bit, and
So they're much more.
interesting, irregular feeling.
I love it because this is.
I do too.
Ideally, we wanted boulders as the stands, we couldn't get that, so I really like the idea of
Yeah.
incorporating around like this and having like that really natural organic look to it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the straight
will they
lines
keep the
are,
boulders
the
then?
straight lines are a little
Yes.
concerned.
Good.
Yeah.
The straight lines are a little concerned.
Well, I don't think the
It's gonna
boulders
be pretty random though.
have any, if you look at the stack out there, none of them have straight lines, and they're much more just like a rock.
Yeah. There's one more thing that's left off of this, as far as I can tell, is all of this boulder material is pretty much the same size, whereas Dow specified the largest ones go right at the foot of his pedestals, so that you can make the transition mentally from the big boulder to the pedestal, which is like a boulder. So the big boulders were supposed to be gathered around the top instead of spread out like seeds over a vast territory.
I will write that comment down.
I don't, and it's hard to tell from I mean, this is just a drone view looking down, so it's really hard to tell.
Well, I'm assuming in that picture on the right that Shannon Weber can do, landscape people can actually do it visually.
And that's how it goes, so.
Right. I mean, not just this one like this, which
Right.
doesn't really say much, but.
Yeah,
to do
it's
it.
individual, so she'll go out to the stack and actually tell the
Right.
crane, pick up these 10 rocks,
Mhm.
bring them over, They set them down, and then she places them
Right.
one by one and tells them where to do it.
Right.
It's really complicated, because every rock is different.
There's some
and-
beautiful, I mean, I know it sounds weird, but there's some beautiful rocks out there.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, there's some
gems.
that are almost like gray,
There's some granite.
granite ones, those are
And, so those will
beautiful.
be placed around.
The base.
So it'll be probably about 25, big rocks. And then, let me go
Yeah,
back
they're,
this way.
I mean, the rocks that if those are the rocks they're using, they're beautiful.
Yeah, so this area will probably be about 25 approximately. And then, some of the smaller ones that are more like granite looking will go around the edges, just for some more, texture.
And how does she combine that look of sandstone with granite? I'm assuming she's obviously really good at what she does. She'll know how to configure the different types of rocks together.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question.
I mean, because the sandstone are really cool in that right picture, but they're very different looking than those.
Than the red rock.
Well, red versus red sandstone versus the black granites, because there's some beautiful big, oh my gosh.
And those are
Huge.
boulders.
They're
The
boulders.
granite ones are boulders,
they're-
whereas the other ones, the light colored tan ones, they are the flat ones.
Oh, they are the flat.
Yeah, they're meant to be laid flat and dug into
Right.
the mound and buried.
Yeah,
But
so she'll be able to do all that.
But in an organic way rather than linear.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
organically. And so, Dow was signed off on this.
yeah, and so the idea would be, then we have some time to figure out the plants and then use next year's budget for the planting.
Good idea.
If for some reason the rocks, once they're placed are hideous, which I don't think they, I mean, and Dow doesn't like them, can they be moved, or is that not within?
I would guess so. I mean, we could do that next year with additional work, if we're gonna be putting in planting. Maybe we have to move some rocks around anyway to accommodate the plants that'll go in. So I would say we're flexible in that way that, if we put in 20
big
rocks and we really
boulders.
only need 15.
Right, or something like that, yeah, we
once
decide that
get
we
the
need
plants in.
more,
Yeah.
well, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to,
Yeah.
one, make sure he's okay with the plan as it is, and that there's some capacity for flexibility, especially since we aren't gonna do the plantings and.
Yeah, he had a meeting with Shannon out there at the rock pile, which I have fun pictures of too, so we can use that for promo, but, and then she gave us this description too, so that we could understand how it's, gonna be placed.
Okay, so do we need to vote on approval of this, or is this just, it's going?
It's just comments, so you
Okay.
can give me comments, and, if there's any, like, other design changes, then I'll bring it back for more feedback.
It's passed the safety test,
What is that?
that when someone comes down the hill at 2 in the morning,
Oh.
60 miles an hour, they're gonna
It'll
run into.
stop them from
Yeah.
hitting the sculpture.
Well,
That's
they're
a
gonna
very good point.
stop and
Yeah.
get the sculpture in dirt before
And that's
they-
kind of like what some of these outer rocks are for, too.
Okay,
to-
it's like,
to
don't
help out.
touch the sculpture.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I feel very confident as long as Dow, has signed up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and he
I mean,
even
his
offered
taste
to
is
come out
fabulous.
here and stand there and pick the rocks too, so, I mean.
Now, do we have to pay him extra for that?
No, but unfortunately, he's leaving.
Sorry, Neil.
Oh, he's going on a trek.
He's leaving for 2 months to.
Yeah, he's going trekking.
But if he can stop by,
They already did. Didn't you say they'd already gone out there and looked at the rocks
yeah, but
together?
if they're
Oh,
all
well, they're
placed and
placed.
Dow looks at it and goes,
Oh.
no.
Well, then, wait, he has the option to change.
Yeah, when he goes to
Okay.
visit his daughter in
That's what we're
Minturn, he can make a stop through.
Oh, there you go. It's got the
Superior.
sculpture, I like that.
And then just a quick note, the lights, so Dow placed the lights right about, I'd say 20 feet from the pedestals, so there'll be 2 lights on each sculpture, and 3 on the dark sculpture, because it's
Oh,
it's
cool.
harder to see it.
Yeah, it is.
So that lighting you can see now is going in, and
Very
hopefully it'll
cool.
be lit next week. Yeah, and we'll have a clock on it so that it turns off at maybe 11 o'clock at night, something
And,
like that.
and then for Bronco games, it turns orange and blue.
Well, I have to say.
Sandy would say yes. do
Yeah,
that.
really.
I really hope there won't be any, thought to putting Christmas lights on the sculpture.
Well, we're all gonna be knitting big scarves for them.
Let me just throw this out there about the landscape plan that I know we're, tired and moving on, but it's really important that it match the organic and disorganized, you might say, power of those figures coming up through the center. I'm not sure what to say about the plants because Dow did specify to me that he'd rather not have any plants, especially not have any flowers, because that would be counter to this raw and natural environment that he wanted. So when you say he's signed off on this, he knows that there's plants on this?
He said he didn't care, so when he was out there and we were looking at it, whatever's, see where that ring is, and see the second ring, he doesn't care what's down there.
he doesn't care what's
He's more concerned about the approach and the organic feeling up,
The mound.
from the rocks up to the bases, up to that pyramid of visual.
Yeah.
And then beyond
That's
that,
important.
Yeah.
And that Dow's approval is important.
It's in here.
Like
Yeah.
the two main things.
And so Deanna, you did get that about the largest rocks being at the foot of the pedestals?
Well, yeah, they're on there.
Well, no, they're all the same size.
Well, that's just a.
That's just common
description.
sense.
That's not the,
Yeah. The big ones will
actual
be.
rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good, I'm excited. And the really cool thing is, the feedback has been absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a real.
It is a real feat, in all honesty.
Do you have, so, I know it's late, did you have other, I thought you said you had a
Oh,
couple.
and they're really fast. Okay, so I did want to tell you that I met with Bill Jenks with Ranch Capital to review the ideas that he has for the bridge going across the creek.
Okay.
And so I asked him to come meet with you guys in October and on his next trip, because I
Okay.
figured his September trip would be too busy. But he could come in October. We'll probably have to do a special meeting that week that he's here. He'll come for planning commission, I think it is.
Okay.
But he wants to go over with you his thoughts for where art could be.
Okay.
How much money he's willing to contribute, and then talking with you about us taking on the art selection process and doing the art selection.
Well, and
So-
doesn't, and again, in the town development, when they approved it 5 or 6 years ago, there is that allocated budget. Does the town keep track of that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah,
There's art allocated
but I
money,
mean,
which
so
is what that.
so that we know.
Yeah.
Okay, we have used X amount of
Yeah, I
dollars
think we should,
for
we
the
should
Zephyr.
pull that up.
And then-
Paul probably has it.
Right, for the development.
Right.
We are actually over. So this is additional money he's willing to put forward for just the bridge.
Whatever that.
Wait, I thought there was like $2 million.
Yeah, there was-
Art that they're supposed to.
Yeah, it's a big number. This is a little bit over its budget. But
Right.
the
Right.
aggregate budget,
Oh, I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
the aggregate
Oh,
art
oh.
budget for.
When it was in the
SDC,
FDP,
Yeah, they're,
Okay.
we have.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Would
I'll
you
work
let
that
us
out.
know
That's,
that?
I
For that
wanted to
meeting.
bring that up, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to mention it while Mitchell was on the line, but there
Yeah.
is money coming from down, I mean, they have to have tip money to be able to give us money
Yes.
to do
Right.
that, but
Right.
there is art budget money from them.
which is why he must be at a point where, okay, we're hoping that that bridge is coming in a year.
Yes.
And then after that's done,
Yes.
2 years from now, then Parks 1 and 2 will be
Yeah.
coming in.
And he is ready
Okay.
to get your input on what is preferred for artwork
Okay.
and to get.
Daryl, when we were going through that process of looking at all of those art projects and like the different works by different artists, did you save a file of
Oh,
the
yeah.
things that we liked?
Well, and I gave the whole spreadsheet
Oh, yeah.
to, and I just actually handed over there was literally a file.
Oh, yeah, you have a whole file with all
Yeah.
your
Because
stuff.
I remember there were plenty that we loved that just didn't
Yeah.
work for this project.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then,
And-
and then he would like to also share with you what the plans are for the development next year. There's gonna be a public plaza. They'll break ground next year and so there's lots of ways that activation can take place there. And of course, he's tying in with Mitchell and really trying to let him know what's possible in the downtown area. And I also explained to him that you know, we are looking at the whole town. So his part of the town is just a portion of the master plan. But certainly, if we could figure out how to dovetail what we want to do and what he wants to do to try to make it really happen. So he wants to talk to you about all of that.
Okay, and on Monday night, the last Tuesday, they came to the planning commission with the Toll Brothers.
Right, which
Yes.
I can't hear about.
No,
Don't tell me anything about it.
okay.
Okay, so then the last thing I wanted to mention is, I met with Adam Hughes from Better
Okay.
City. And he's gonna put a focus group, I guess, I don't know if he's calling it that, but he's gonna do a stakeholder group, workshop for economic development strategies for specifically the Rock Creek Shopping Center. And I offered,
Which one is that?
You mean Superior?
Safeway.
the
Oh, okay,
Safeway.
thank you.
Yeah, the Safeway one, down on Colton. And, I asked him if he would put one or two of you on that, committee so that you can contribute. And he said yes. So we don't probably have to decide today, but, I'd say one or two of you, if you could join that, I'll get him in touch with you and you can help. He's doing public outreach and he's trying to, tie in, you know, to the Creative Placemaking Master Plan too. So all of these plans and efforts they are all very interested in tying into the master plan, so it's
Okay.
kind of great.
I have one quick question. Monday night, Brixmor is coming to the work session.
Correct.
Do we, as a committee, from the main, the main event, where does that whole thing tie into what I'm hearing, since that's right by my house and my kids go to preschool there and I go to the music store and stuff? I'm hearing a lot of stuff about the Superior Marketplace from my part of town, basically. So when the Board of Trustees meet with Brixmor, who by the way charges $500 to stage an event in their plaza, which still frosts me,
I didn't know that.
right?
Did I have comments on things about at the day of the event too? I think they took down their signs, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't know who
Not
did.
their
But
fault.
anyway,
Anyways, yeah.
I know Brixmor is not
Right,
great with
okay.
communication, but they're scheduled for the town to meet with the Board of Trustees on Monday. So as a committee, is there some way that we can have better communication, or I don't even know what that looks like, but working with them was actually really frustrating for the main event, so.
Yeah, no, I think that message is not one I'd heard before, so I'll make sure that gets shared on Monday.
Well, and also, I think that the other component was they, even though their website says they want to do pop-up events, they
Yeah.
only would allow us to do the
Yeah.
first one and not do the 3 consecutive ones because they would allow us if there were no complaints and there was just no way to market and do it that way.
And they
so.
gave us no flexibility, they gave us no encouragement, they charged us to have, I mean, they're, in my perspective, as an entity that I would assume beyond Target, Michaels, and Costco, would really like to have that level of success and being a part of the community, and so.
And I think you guys can continue that. I just want to
Yeah.
close out the meeting so people can go home and thank you all for your time. So
Awesome.
Meeting adjourned, and I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
that's okay, I just saw it on the agenda for Monday night, and I didn't want to be glossed
offline,
over.
But
All
let's.
right, and Debbie, feel free to,
How do you
we can
spell
talk now, or if you want to
Fixes
shoot me an email.
last name?
give me a call.
CKS. Okay.